Chapter 38-40. Although the giant bear was unlikely to catch up, Su Yun and the others still did not slow down. They came to the isolated island in the northwest of Big Bear Lake at the fastest speed as indicated by the mobile phone's GPS. Because of the cold weather, this unknown island had been frozen together with the Big Bear Lake. Therefore, the originally small isolated island looked even smaller at the moment. A stone house on the small isolated island could be seen at a glance. The three of them instantly became spirited. They knew that this small house was definitely Jochen Xiu's. If it weren't for Jochen Xiu, who wanted to avoid worldly prosperity, he would not live here by himself. Even the native residents of the Arctic Circle would not choose to live alone. They would definitely form a small circle with their friends as much as possible. After all, in this kind of place, the danger of a person's survival was too great. This is called living in seclusion. There is only a house on such a small island. There is no cover. Lin Gu smiled and walked forward to knock on the door. The wooden door of the stone house was very heavy, and it made a muffled sound. "Open the door, Mr. Zhou Lao. We have found you. Don't hide." Lin Gu knocked on the door and said with a smile. However, there was no response from inside the house at all. Lin Gu was stunned. He thought that Jochen Xiu was quite good at putting on airs. "Mr. Zhou Lao, sorry to disturb you." Su Yun also stepped forward and said, "We sincerely came here to ask for your help. I hope you can give us face and open the door." Su Yun also said very sincerely. His and Lin Ji's attitude was very good and sincere. Whether he was willing to help or not, he should at least open the door and say a word. Even if he invited them in for a cup of hot water, it was also a form of etiquette. Lin Ji's expression was a little displeased. Just by knowing what Jochen Xiu had done, he could tell that Jochen Xiu was not a particular person. This made Lin Gu feel that Jochen Xiu was somewhat shameless. If Jochen Xiu did not give him face, Lin Gu would not be so polite. "Let me do it." Gu Chia walked to the door and knocked on it. "Uncle Joe, it's me. I am Gu Chia." Silence. They were still met with silence. "Jochen Xiu, you are really interesting. It's fine if you ignore us when we call you, but Miss Gu and the others are your saviors. Don't you think you're going too far by refusing them?" Lin Gu stretched out his leg and was about to kick the door open. "Don't be like this." Su Yun didn't want Lin Gu to make their relationship so stiff. Gu Chia continued, "Ninth uncle, if you don't open the door, I'll open it myself." "Brother, let's not talk nonsense with him." Lin Gu was an impatient person. Since Gu Chia had spoken, Su Yun couldn't stop her. Gu Chia gave Lin Gu a look, and Lin Gu kicked the heavy wooden door open. Clang! To be exact, the entire wooden door was kicked off. Gu Chia walked in first, followed by Su Yun and Lin Gu. There was no one in the stone house, but it was much warmer inside than outside. Su Yun glanced at the stone fireplace. Obviously, a fire had been lit before. The burning flame was extinguished by a few ice cubes. The firewood was still wet and dewy. Obviously, it had been extinguished not long ago. Although the stone house was not big, and there was nothing valuable in it, it was quite clean. So it was absolutely impossible for this place to be abandoned and uninhabited. Someone must have lived here for a long time. There was also a pile of chopped wood under the bed. Obviously, it was used to make a fire. "Brother, there is still some fish soup left in here." Lin Gu opened a pot on the table. "It's warm. It should have been eaten not long ago." "This is stewed fish." Su Yun, "It seems that we didn't find the wrong place. But he definitely didn't escape because of our arrival. It must be for other reasons. When you were fighting the giant bear just now, the sound of the giant bear monster must have disturbed him." Lin Gu frowned. Gu Chia nodded. "I think so too. He must have left because he heard the sound and was scared." Su Yun looked around. Suddenly, he found that there was an entrance to the stone house at the corner behind the bed. "Look at this." Su Yun pointed at the cover of the entrance. "Damn. That's smart. He hid it underground. Lin Gu stepped forward and opened the entrance to the basement. Instantly, a dog smell rushed out. This is a dog kennel, right? When Lin Gu said this, Su Yun could not help but be puzzled. Dog kennel? If this was a place to raise dogs, why didn't they hear any barking after coming here? But Su Yun believed in Lin Ji's nose. Ordinary people would not mistake the unique smell of dogs. Su Yun quickly walked down. Lin Gu and Gu Chia followed closely behind. After the three of them came down, they found that there was another world below the stone house. This was indeed a place to raise dogs. And from the looks of it, there should be quite a few dogs here. Looking inside, the space below was quite big. It extended for more than 10 meters. And there were all kinds of tools on the shelves on both sides. Su Yun looked down at the ground. There were signs of long-term friction. Lin Gu walked straight to the end. The end was actually a slope. Lin Gu could only squat down. Suddenly, a cold wind blew against his neck. Lin Gu looked up and shouted, "Brother, there is an exit here." Lin Gu reached out and pushed upwards. Voila! A huge wooden door was pushed open. The slope in the basement was directly opened. It seems that these traces were left behind by the dogs pulling the sled. Su Yun understood a lot now. Lin Gu walked out. The cold wind made him tighten his collar again. The warmth inside had a huge difference from the outside. At this moment, the sky was beginning to darken. It was estimated that it would be dark soon, and the temperature would be even lower. Speaking of which, the temperature in the room was not high. But because they could start a fire, it was at least above 0 degrees. But outside, it was more than -30 degrees. The difference in temperature was too big. Gu Chia could not help but cough twice. "Brother, there are traces here." Lin Gu looked at the messy footprints in front of him and said, "Human footprints. Dog footprints." Looking forward, the human footprints disappeared. Only the dog footprints and the traces of the sled were left. They extended far away. This guy ran away. Gu Chia said, "He must have heard the sound of the giant bear and got scared, so he ran away." "Then let's hurry up and chase after him." Lin Gu said, "Don't let that guy run away. If he runs away, it will be troublesome. He is a homeless person." Su Yun also nodded. Now the only hope was to follow the traces of the sled and catch up. If they could catch up, it would be good. If they could not, all their previous efforts would be in vain. The three of them set off quickly, but Su Yun was still worried about another problem. If they caught up, it would not be Zhou Qianxiu. It would be difficult to accept. Su Yun was most worried about this now, because having a goal would give people motivation. If there was no goal, their sense of loss would be much more serious. Su Yun had a headache when he thought of this. The traces of the sled continued into the distance. It seemed to be a road of no return, and this direction was opposite to the direction they came from. They were now 10 miles away from the car, and they were getting further and further away. Lin Gu was very motivated. All this motivation came from the traces of the sled on the ground, which meant that there were still clues to find Zhou Qianxiu. Su Yun could only pray that the owner of the sled must be Zhou Qianxiu. Gu Chia's situation was still a bit bad. Although she could walk with support, her feet still could not walk by themselves. Su Yun just touched her. Her bones were not damaged, but her joints were sprained. Although it was not a big deal, it was better to get better treatment as soon as possible. There were no conditions for treatment in this world of ice and snow. Moreover, they had already encountered the giant polar bear once. Su Yun could never leave Gu Chia alone anywhere. Any place that seemed safe was actually not safe. Even if it was the stone house, if the stone house was safe, the owner of the house would not run away. Chapter 38:41. For Su Yun, perhaps the direction of the sled trail would be a safe place. Compared to finding Zhou Qianxiu, it was equally important for Su Yun to find a safe place to observe Gu Chia's injury. According to the footprints, there were at most 2 dogs. The speed of 2 dogs pulling the sled was not too fast, but even so, it was almost impossible for Su Yun and the others to catch up. After all, although Gu Qia's current situation could not be said to be difficult to move, her speed was indeed not fast enough. Under such circumstances, Su Yun and the others still insisted on continuing to track. They did not know how far they had walked. When the sky began to darken, they suddenly found that there was a pine forest in front of them. Because of the special environment of this place, or rather, the vegetation in all the extremely cold areas was mainly tundra. There were no deciduous trees or deciduous trees in other areas. Of course, there were trees no matter how cold the place was. It was just that the trees in the cold Arctic grew very slowly. Some trees that were only 2 or 3 meters high might be more than 300 or 400 years old. It was also strange that the Arctic pine was here now because it was a kind of European red pine. This kind of tree grew in Europe, from Great Britain and the Iberian Peninsula in the west, to Siberia and the Caucasus Mountains in the east, and between Lapland in the north. The sky was a lot darker. As soon as they entered the pine forest, the trail of the sled was even less obvious. Su Yun and the others tracked all the way and finally got something. Suddenly, there was a dog barking in the depths of the pine forest. The dog's nose was quite sensitive. Even though it was so cold here, they could still smell the smell of other species. Lin Ji's eyes lit up when he heard the dog barking. He looked back at Su Yun and waited for Su Yun to give orders. Su Yun nodded and motioned for Lin Gu to speed up immediately to see what was going on. Lin Gu rushed out directly without looking back. He finally had a chance to release the suffocation along the way. He would never miss this opportunity. He must catch Zhou Qianxiu. After Lin Gu rushed out, Su Yun also carried Gu Qia on his back. You'd better not get off the ground as soon as possible. We've already caught up with them. You don't have to worry. Gu Qia heaved a sigh of relief. The barking in the distance became louder and louder. They seemed to have sensed Lin Ji's approach, so they kept reminding their owners. The old man with the goatee and big nose looked back at the pine forest with a serious expression. He knew that his dog wouldn't bark for no reason. There must be some danger. Now, there were not only deer and cows in the pine forest, but also polar bears, so he was a little worried that he had encountered a dangerous guy. Another possibility was the Arctic wolves. These white wolves were much more powerful than gray wolves. They could be said to be members of the largest wild canine family in the world. Therefore, his worries naturally existed. Moreover, wolves were pack animals. Compared to encountering a pack of Arctic wolves, the locals would rather encounter a polar bear. No one knew the Arctic wolves better than the people in the Arctic. The Arctic wolves had terrifying endurance, and they could adapt to long-distance migrations that were longer than normal gray wolves. These Arctic wolves had narrow chests and strong backs and legs, which made them very efficient in maneuvering. When they were chasing prey, they could increase their speed to close to 70 to 80 kilometers per hour. When sprinting, the distance of each step could be as long as 5 to 6 meters. It was comparable to the speed of a car. Their teeth were very sharp, which was very helpful for them to hunt prey with thicker subcutaneous fat in cold areas. One had to know that the Arctic wolves were creatures that had survived the Ice Age. They were very resistant. As the two Alaskan dogs barked louder and louder, the old man picked up the shotgun in his hand. He really thought that they were surrounded by wolves because the barking of the two dogs made him a little worried. However, a figure flashed through the pine forest in front of him. The old man raised the shotgun and aimed. But the figure was no longer there. The two dogs suddenly started barking at the old man. The old man was so scared that his scalp went numb. He quickly turned around. But his shotgun was grabbed by someone. Lin Gu grinned, revealing a mouthful of white teeth. A friend is coming from afar. You shouldn't aim with a shotgun, right? The old man was stunned. He suddenly let go of the shotgun in his hand and said a string of words to Lin Gu that Lin Gu couldn't understand. Ah! Lin Gu was stunned. The two dogs were still barking at him. Lin Gu couldn't hear what the man was saying to begin with, but the two dogs kept on causing trouble. How could Lin Gu not be angry? He glared at them and roared at the two dogs, "Stop King barking. If you call me again, I'll kill you and make you into hot pot." With this roar, the two dogs were directly stunned by Lin Ji's momentum. After all, dogs were animals. The sixth sense of animals was much more sensitive than humans. They seemed to be able to understand Lin Ge's words. They seemed to feel that they were not Lin Ge's opponent, and the gap was quite huge. They didn't need to fight at all, so they obediently lay down with their tails between their legs and their ears drooping. Once the dogs made this kind of action, there were only two possibilities. One was that they were afraid, and the other was to express their obedience. The two dogs had already felt very uneasy. They were afraid of Lin Gu, so now they only hoped that their owner would take them away. They didn't have the courage to bark again. The dogs stopped barking, but the old man was still mumbling something. "Don't give me this. I know who you are. You can understand what I'm saying." Lin Gu believed that this guy was Zhou Qianxiu. He deliberately pretended not to understand anything. The old man shook his head, raised his hands, and kept talking. It seemed that he was begging for mercy. F***CK. Is he really not Zhou Qianxiu? Lin Gu looked at the old man in front of him. His nose was so big, and his eyes were quite small. He really looked like a local who lived in the Arctic, so Lin Ge's mind went blank. Lin Gu removed the bullets from the shotgun and threw it on the ground. "I'm telling you, if you are Zhou Qianxiu, admit it immediately. If I find out that you are fooling me, I will definitely teach you a lesson." Lin Gu warned, "Zhou Qianxiu, we spent so much effort to find you. We have very important things to do. Do you understand?" The old man still shook his head and said something to Lin Gu that Lin Gu couldn't understand at all. No way. Lin Gu was really unhappy. If this grandson is really not Zhou Qianxiu, wouldn't they have played in vain? Okay. Don't talk about your stupid language. I can't understand it. Lin Gu waved his hand impatiently. You stay here honestly. When someone comes, they will naturally recognize you. Lin Gu was not sure if the other party had a gun, so he did not relax his vigilance. Within a few minutes, Su Yun caught up with Gu Qia on his back. "Brother, I can't understand what this guy is saying. Is he really Zhou Qianxiu? Maybe he is pretending to be a grandson." Lin Gu said angrily. Gu Qia was carried down from Su Yun's back and was helped forward by Su Yun. She looked at the old man in front of her and shook her head. No. The old man looked at the three of them at a loss and continued to say something that they couldn't understand at all. The language here was too niche. Even Su Yun couldn't understand it, so the three of them were all puzzled. "Mr. Zhou is proficient in disguise." Su Yun said to Gu Qia. "Are you sure you can recognize him?" Gu Qia couldn't help but frown. She looked directly at the old man in front of her. "If you are Zhou Qianxiu, look at me carefully. Do you still recognize me? Although we haven't seen each other for many years, and I look different than before, you have lived in my house for so long. It's impossible that you don't have any impression of me." The old man stared at Gu Qia in a daze. "I am Gu Qia. You can't forget." Gu Qia said, "My father is Gu Guolong. You told him after you came here. I know that you don't want to be disturbed by anyone, and I know that you have paid off the favor you owe our family. But I came here to find you for a very important matter. We need your help. I hope you can help me for the sake of the previous face." Speaking of this, Gu Qia stopped. After a pause, she continued, "If you are Uncle Zhou, I beg you to tell me who you are. Really, I won't look for you if it's an ordinary matter. This is a very important matter, very, very important matter." Chapter 38-42. Gu Qia's attitude was normal. In the face of her sincerity, the other party did not react at all, as if all this had nothing to do with him at all. Seeing the other party like this, Gu Qia's heart sank. If she made a mistake, so much hard work would be in vain. Gu Qia also fell into self-blame. After all, it had been many years since Zhou Qianxiu left her home. He said he came here, but this place was not suitable for human survival. Maybe he had already moved away. When she thought of this, Gu Qia felt that she was too casual. She brought Su Yun and the others here without considering the consequences. If they couldn't find Jiuqian Xiu, it was better not to tell Su Yun and the others about this. The feeling of no hope was much better than this feeling of having hope but not being able to grasp it. And once they returned without success, the legend would definitely be more unscrupulous. Knowing that they couldn't find someone to replace him, he would be fearless. Gu Qia shook her head helplessly. It seems that we made a mistake. I'm really sorry for him and these two poor dogs. We frightened them. How can we apologize? He doesn't understand. Brother, we really didn't play for nothing, right? Lin Gu looked at Su Yun and couldn't hide the loss in his eyes. Su Yun looked at the two Alaskan dogs who were more scared than humans and asked Lin Gu with a smile, I want to know what you said to scare these two puppies like this. When we came over, they didn't dare to bark. Lin Gu was stunned. I didn't say anything. I just said that if they bark again, I will kill them and stew them in hot pot. Su Yun nodded. I think these two dogs are very human. They can understand human speech. You said that if they bark again, they will be killed and stewed in hot pot. They must have understood. Lin Gu shook his head helplessly. Brother, what time is it now? You are still in the mood to joke. I'm not joking. It's so cold. It's good to kill a dog and stew it in hot pot to warm the body. Dog meat is very nourishing. Eating dog meat in cold areas can warm the body. Su Yun finished and looked at the two dogs. Dog meat hot pot is especially fragrant. The two dogs looked at Su Yun in fear and whimpered. The local elder sat where he was and did not react at all. He did not understand what Su Yun was saying. Are you crazy? We've already frightened them, and we still want to kill their dogs. Don't mess around. Gu Qia said to Su Yun. She would never allow Su Yun to hurt the two dogs. Su Yun shrugged. He doesn't understand what we're talking about. He didn't react at all. Just because he doesn't understand doesn't mean that we can kill his dogs. Gu Qia was very determined. Su Yun sighed helplessly. When Lin Gu said that he wanted to kill them, they were so scared that they didn't dare to bark. When I said that I wanted to stew dog meat hot pot, their reaction was to whimper. These two dogs are very powerful. They can understand Hua Xia language. When Su Yun said this, Lin Gu and Gu Qia both widened their eyes and looked at Su Yun in surprise. However, their owner is a bit ignorant. Seeing his dog's reaction, even if he doesn't understand what we are saying, he should know that we want to kill and eat dogs. Su Yun, as long as it's a normal person, I believe that they will immediately stop us. Even if they don't understand our words, they will definitely find a way to let us know that we can't kill his dogs. Lin Gu reacted in an instant. This old guy is really a bit strange. His reaction is not normal at all. Gu Qia also understood Su Yun's meaning. Su Yun didn't want to kill the dogs. He just wanted to see the old man's reaction. Jiuqian Xiu, do you understand now? Are you still playing with us? Lin Gu went up and picked the old man up. However, the old man was still mumbling something that Lin Gu couldn't understand. I know you're definitely cursing, but I don't understand what you're saying, so I'm not angry at all. Lin Gu said, if I'm cursing you, you'll understand. Don't explode in anger. Gu Qia also stepped forward. Uncle Joe, if it's really you, just admit it. What I said just now was all true. We really need you. Let's call it Kabareshku Nijavatik. The old man's words were unclear. It's better than a dead toad coming here to play, crying melon. Lin Ji's head hurt. Could it be that this guy has lived here for too long and can't speak Chinese? If he can't speak Chinese, his dogs probably can't understand what we said about stewing hot pot. Su Yun, eating dog meat hot pot in this cold area will definitely nourish the body. Also, any Arctic wolf can be stewed into hot pot. It probably tastes similar to dog meat hot pot. His dogs must have seen how he stews hot pot. When his dogs are disobedient, they must have heard him threaten to stew them into hot pot, right? Gu Qia and Lin Gu saw that the old man couldn't say anything, and they felt that Su Yun's speculation was not very reliable. As far as I know, the city where Zhou Qinxiu was born and grew up is the city that likes to eat hot pot the most in the whole Huaxia and even the whole world. All kinds of things can be cooked in hot pot in his hometown. Su Yun, if you don't eat hot pot for 3 days, you're not a person from his hometown. Gu Qia exclaimed, "Yes. When Zhou Qinxiu lived in my house, he also liked to eat hot pot the most. He was not used to our food. Most of the time he ate alone, which was hot pot." Su Yun looked at the dogs and smiled. "I'll make you into stew." The 2 dogs looked at Su Yun in horror and didn't make any sound. But Su Yun said again, "I'll stew you in hot pot." The ears of the 2 dogs drooped. They lay on the ground and trembled slightly. Their mouths made extremely frightened whimpering sounds. Was there a need to say more? Obviously, Su Yun's reasoning was reasonable. It was definitely not nonsense. "I say, you're really stubborn." Lin Gu looked at the other party and said, "Until now, you still don't intend to admit it?" Tuku Mud Road de Siku. Lin Gu pushed him to the ground. "If you don't admit it, I'll kill you directly. Do you understand this? I'll kill you with your gun. And your dogs. Not Kaha, suspected to be Kaha. F*CK. Continue with your Martian language. I don't have so much patience." Lin Gu directly picked up the shotgun and bullets on the ground. "I'll see if your mouth is harder than the bullets. If you don't admit it, go to hell." The other party didn't mean to admit it at all. "Wait a minute." Su Yun suddenly said to Lin Gu, "It's fine if he doesn't admit it. Let's take him to the place where we were ambushed by the giant bear and push him to the giant bear. I believe the giant bear will be happy to torture him." After that, Su Yun approached the old man on the ground. He knew that it was impolite to treat an old man like this, but he had no choice. If he politely explained to Zhou Qinxiu would not admit it. After all, he didn't even give face to Gu Qia. Su Yun thought about it from the beginning. Since this guy chose to leave the Big Circle Gang, he must feel that he had returned enough favors to the Big Circle Gang. Since it was enough, why bother? Moreover, Gu Qia was just Gu Qia. The person who had helped Zhou Qinxiu was not Gu Qia, but Gu Guolong. Gu Qia was just Gu Guolong's daughter, so Zhou Qinxiu had plenty of reasons to ignore them completely. "I know. You escaped from your stone house because you heard that earth-shattering roar. Also, you could feel the tremors on the ice. That's the tremors caused by the giant bear's fists smashing the ice." Su Yun said, "I don't know if you've seen it before, but I can tell you that the difference between that polar bear and other polar bears is too great. It's 3 times the height of a normal polar bear, more than 7 meters. It weighs at least 2 tons. Otherwise, it wouldn't have smashed a hole in the frozen lake." The old man looked at Su Yun with a blank expression. "You don't have to admit that you are Zhou Qinxiu. I'll take you to see the giant bear now." "Su Yun, before that, you have a chance to admit that you are Zhou Qinxiu at any time. If you don't admit it, then I'm sorry. I will push you to the giant bear. At that time, your life and death will depend on your own fortune." Gu Qia knew that Su Yun could be sure that the other party was Zhou Qinxiu, so she didn't say anything else. She just looked at the other party calmly. "You'd better admit it, Uncle Zhou. We really have something very important." Chapter 38-43. Don't think that I'm bluffing you. I don't know if you have heard of a saying. Su Yun said, "It's better to kill by mistake than to let someone go." Gu Qia has already told you that we came to this place to find you because of very important things, so we will do whatever it takes. Lin Gu also threatened, "If you think that we will be worried about killing by mistake, then you are wrong. We have paid a big price to come here. We almost died in the hands of a mutant polar bear just now." Su Yun knew that the other party must be Zhou Qinxiu, and he could understand Su Yun's meaning. Su Yun told him the truth about the fear he heard. He would not want to see the monster bear. Under this pressure he would admit it. "Pigeon, take him on the road." Su Yun did not give the other party time to think and said directly to Lin Gu. Lin Gu directly dragged the person from the ground. I admit it. Zhou Qianxiu finally spoke. Speaking in authentic Chinese, he even pretended that he didn't understand what they were saying just now. Gu Qia was instantly overjoyed. How could Zhou Qianxiu not speak Chinese in this place? Although the whole world spoke Huaxia's language and regarded learning Huaxia's language as a fashion and trend, this was not a developed place. People in this place had no time to learn Huaxia's language. Uncle Zhou, why didn't you admit it just now? Gu Qia stared at Zhou Qianxiu. I told you who I am. What else do you have to worry about? Zhou Qianxiu glanced at Gu Qia. I just don't want to be disturbed. Your nose. Did you disguise yourself? Gu Qia said, You have come to this place, yet you still want to disguise yourself? Is it so fun to turn yourself into someone else? Zhou Qianxiu ignored Gu Qia's words and stood up carefully. You brought 2 outsiders. If it was just you or your father, I don't have to hide it. They are not outsiders. If they were, I would not have brought them here. Gu Qia said, Ninth uncle, believe me. I will not betray you. I've never done anything to make you uncomfortable, have I? Zhou Qianxiu frowned. Why are you looking for me? Lin Gu was still a little unhappy about what happened just now. What's the matter? Of course I'm going to feed you to the bears. The way you do things is a little too unkind. Zhou Qianxiu ignored Lin Gu. He did not have a good impression of Lin Gu. Without waiting for Gu Qia to explain her intentions, Su Yun said to Zhou Qianxiu, Qia's foot was injured because of the giant bear just now. Mr. Zhou, I believe that since you ran here, there must be a place to stay, right? Why don't you take us to a place where we can stay? I'll take a look at her ankle first, and then we can talk slowly. There was a moment of silence. Zhou Qianxiu did not speak. You, old man, are too stingy. Lin Gu was a little angry. Miss Gu told us about your matter. If it weren't for Miss Gu's father, you would have died now. She needs your help now. She is injured. Can't you arrange a place for her? Zhou Qianxiu lowered his head silently. The person who saved me is her father. Only her father can order me. I have no obligation to her. You. Lin Gu really wanted to stomp his foot directly. Fortunately, Zhou Qianxiu's next words made Lin Gu control his emotions. Since something happened in front of me, I can't not help for Mr. Gu's sake. I have a cabin in the depths of the pine forest. Let's go there. After Zhou Qianxiu finished speaking, he motioned for the dog to prepare to pull the sled. Su Yun directly helped Gu Qia onto the sled. That's more like it. You should be more particular as a person. Lin Gu glanced at Zhou Qianxiu. He didn't know that when Zhou Qianxiu was young, he always wore the hat of not particular, and was labeled as unrealistic. After all, although Zhou Qianxiu was an evil genius, the things he did were all deceit. His ability was hardly used in serious matters. All of it was wasted on those messy things. Otherwise, he would not have fallen to this point today. If Zhou Qianxiu could be more realistic at that time and could sincerely make a few friends in the underworld, all aspects of the underworld would definitely make way for him. After all, Zhou Qianxiu was not someone to be trifled with. His ability to disguise was unparalleled in the underworld. The 2 Alaskan dogs knew that they would not be eaten. They silently began to pull the sled. Gu Qia could finally sit down and rub her ankles. In this way, they walked in the pine forest for about half an hour. Finally, they saw the cabin in the darkness. At this time, the sky was completely dark. When they arrived, Zhou Qianxiu gestured. Su Yun carried Gu Qia directly into the cabin. Zhou Qianxiu packed up the things, then opened a small door under the cabin and took out some dry wood. Lin Gu watched him from outside and waited for him to go into the cabin to make a fire. Su Yun had put Gu Qia on the wooden bed in the cabin to help her look at her feet. You said that you saw a giant bear. Is that true? Zhou Qianxiu asked while making a fire. He had lived here for a long time and was familiar with all kinds of skills. Zhou Qianxiu took out a dagger. Lin Gu looked at him vigilantly. At this time, Zhou Qianxiu took out a fire stick. You have this thing? There is no place to sell it in this wilderness, right? Lin Gu saw the fire stick and asked, Where did you get it? The fire stick should be the most convenient, safe and reliable tool to make a fire in the wild today. It was a magnesium alloy rod. It would not burn when it came into contact with a fire source, and it was not afraid of moisture. It did not matter in this world of ice and snow. As long as the matching scraper or knife was used to quickly and vertically scrape the surface, some debris could be scraped off. The latter would quickly self-ignite in the air and become a fire with a high temperature of nearly 3,000 degrees Celsius. The large debris could directly ignite the paper. Zhou Qianxiu wiped the flint with a dagger and let the debris fall into the prepared igniter. He quickly made a raging bonfire. He also began to put dry wood in a leisurely manner, and soon built a fire. You haven't answered my question yet. Zhou Qianxiu looked at Lin Gu and did not seem to answer his question. Lin Gu was speechless. Do we need to lie to you? If you don't believe it, come with us and have a look. We didn't walk when we came. We have 2 Snow Wolf snowmobiles. It was all because of that beast. My car was parked outside and did not go to the lake. Zhou Qianxiu could see that they were not lying, and they really did not need to lie to him. He did hear the terrifying cry and felt the tremor of the ice of Big Bear Lake. It was definitely not the tremor caused by an ordinary polar bear. I picked it up. Zhou Qianxiu suddenly said. Lin Gu was stunned. What? Didn't you ask me where the fire stick came from? Zhou Qianxiu said, I picked it up. I picked up a wilderness survival bag. Maybe it was lost by some rich people looking for excitement. Lin Gu was speechless. This guy was too hesitant to answer the question. He forgot that he had asked him. Anyway, this was not an important question. But Zhou Qianxiu seemed to be unable to stop talking. There is blood on the survival bag. I have smelled it. It is the smell of human blood. I guess the owner was attacked by an Arctic wolf or a polar bear. He should be dead. Lin Gu turned to look at Su Yun and Gu Qia. He was too lazy to know these stories. Lin Gu also felt that some people deserved to be attacked. They did not live well in their own city. They had to come to these animals' territory to provoke others. They deserved to be bitten to death. Su Yun saw that there were 2 suitable planks in the cabin, so he fixed Gu Qia's ankle. Then he asked Zhou Qianxiu, since it is a wilderness survival bag, there should be gauze bandages or something in it, right? Zhou Qianxiu nodded and walked to the corner of the cabin. He found the blood-stained survival bag under a pile of messy debris. He found gauze bandages inside and handed them to Su Yun. Su Yun quickly fixed Gu Qia's ankle. Although it was not a serious injury, it would still leave sequelae if it was not dealt with properly. Gu Qia watched Su Yun deal with it for her. She was moved, but the psychological effect made her feel that her ankle did not hurt at all. Chapter 38-44. It's just a sprain. You don't have to do this. Gu Qia's ankle was fixed by Su Yun, but it was inconvenient to wear shoes. In order to keep Gu Qia's feet warm, Su Yun saw a piece of leather processed by Zhou Qianxiu in the wooden house. He took it and made a leather boot for Gu Qia on the spot. This made Gu Qia a little embarrassed. After all, the things here belonged to Zhou Qianxiu. They came here to ask for help. Su Yun motioned for Gu Qia not to move. It was a critical moment now. Although sprains aren't very serious, if you don't treat a serious sprain like yours thoroughly, you'll definitely end up with a habitual sprain. Gu Qia did not dare to be careless when she heard this. No one wanted to sprain so often in the future. Although she hardly wore high heels on weekdays, it was also necessary when necessary to deal with the situation. Zhou Qianxiu looked at Su Yun's processing technique and said admiringly, "Where did you learn this? Your technique is professional enough. I saw you learn it secretly. If you learn it secretly, you have to pay the tuition fee." Lin Gu said next to him. Zhou Qianxiu glanced at Lin Gu. "You don't think I have no money, right? If you want the tuition fee, I will give it to you. I, Jochin Xiu, am not a person who likes to owe others favors. Well, I think you have money, but do you know the price of our tuition fee? Lin Gu did not show any weakness. Do you dare to ask for 1 million? Jochin Xiu did not take it seriously at all. You are right. We want 1 million. Do you have it? No, you can't do it. You said you will give it to us. Jochin Xiu was a little speechless. Do you think I, a person who lives here, can have so much money? Use your brain before you speak. This is not worth 1 million. If you don't have enough money, don't pretend to be a big shot. Lin Gu said, we don't intend to ask you for money. As long as you help us do one thing, everything is even. Even? Do you really think I owe you anything? Jochin Xiu said coldly, I'm telling you, I don't owe you anything. You'd better not pester me. Su Yun took care of Gu Qia's foot and joined in the conversation. Mr. Jiu, we have something to ask of you. You don't owe us anything. I beg you to help me on account of my relationship with old Master Gu. Jochin Xiu turned his head and looked at Su Yun. He nodded slightly and said, Young man, at least you have an attitude when you speak. Unlike that kid, he doesn't have an attitude when he speaks. Lin Gu was too lazy to pay attention to him. If he spoke now, he would definitely be stopped by Su Yun, so he simply kept quiet. Su Yun continued, apart from the 9 elders, we really can't find anyone else who can solve this matter. That's why we had no choice but to come here and disturb you. You don't have to be so polite. Just call me Old Joe. Jochin Xiu said, your attitude is very good, but I want to tell you that I have already quit the secular world. I won't get involved in anything. That would violate my own oath to myself. We didn't ask you to join the secular world. We just asked you to use your disguise technique. Lin Gu said, is such a small favor okay? Jochin Xiu did not look at Lin Gu and replied, using the disguise technique is not considered quitting the secular world. I used to rely on this ability to make a living. Gu Qia couldn't help but say, Uncle Joe, you are now in the state of disguise. Does it not count if you use it on yourself? Jochin Xiu froze for a moment. He didn't want to respond, but later he said, of course, it doesn't count for me. I just want to live in seclusion. Today, if it weren't for a special situation, you wouldn't have recognized me. You can't be so ungrateful. Lin Gu continued to say to him, if it weren't for Mr. Gu saving you, you would have been dead. Now Miss Gu came to you for help, but you refused. Aren't you a bit too much? It's not up to others to point fingers at my affairs. It's fine as long as I have a clear conscience. Jochin Xiu insisted. Gu Qia said, Uncle Jiu, as long as you are willing to help us, we can do whatever you need us to do. I don't need anything. Jochin Xiu smiled slightly, I'm fine here by myself. What I want is a peaceful life, an environment where no one will disturb me. This is the only thing I want. Su Yun frowned. It seemed that Jochin Xiu was not a person who could be persuaded. But it was really a bit unscrupulous to ask others for help and still play hard on them. But at this time, Su Yun couldn't care so much. If he was unscrupulous, then so be it. He could only comfort himself that Jochin Xiu was not a scrupulous person in the past anyway. Lin Gu sneered at the side. No wonder my old man said that you are one of the 3 unscrupulous people with no class. Your character is really bad. Hearing Lin Ji's words, Jochin Xiu's face was a little upset. Who? Who said that I have no class? Lu Xuanji. Lin Gu glared and said, why? Are you not convinced? If you are not convinced, go and ask him. Jochin Xiu withered at once. His eyes looked at Lin Gu in a trance. You? Who are you to Lu Xuanji? His last disciple. Lin Gu said, I also want to tell you that if you dare to say a bad word about my old man, I will never give you face. Even if Miss Gu is here, I will not give you any face. Jochin Xiu glanced at Gu Qia in surprise. Who are they? They are my friends, Gu Qia said. She didn't know the complicated background of Su Yun and Lin Gu. His name is Su Yun, and this younger brother is Lin Gu. Jochin Xiu looked at Su Yun, and a trace of horror suddenly appeared on his face. Suddenly, a memory crazily rose from the bottom of his heart and rolled directly in his head. No wonder I felt so familiar when I saw this kid at first glance. Su Yun. His name is Su Yun. Is he? Thinking of this, Jochin Xiu's expression changed. He seemed to be afraid of something, and the fear rose from the bottom of his heart. It was not caused by others, so his whole state seemed particularly bad. Uncle Joe, what's wrong with you? Gu Chia looked at Jochin Xiu with some worry. Jochin Xiu seemed to have changed into a different person in an instant. Lin Gu also stared at Jochin Xiu. He didn't understand what trick this guy was playing. It looked really awkward. It was like a person who had taken too many drugs, and his brain was in a mess. Su Yun was also very puzzled. It was like schizophrenia. It was a bit tricky for them to deal with it. Brother, what is he doing? Scamming? Pretending to be crazy, and then blaming us for scaring him? Lin Gu said speechlessly. Is it necessary? It's just a favor. Is it so difficult? Su Yun. Jochin Xiu looked at Su Yun, and his face became more and more ugly. How did you find me? Why can you still find me after so many years? Wait a minute. What does this mean? Lin Gu was a little speechless and said, What kind of game is this? Su Yun also felt that it was strange, but Jochin Xiu's state did not seem to be fake. There was no way to fake schizophrenia or psychosis. Gu Chia looked at Su Yun in surprise and didn't know what to say. Does he have some kind of mental illness? Have you heard of it before? Su Yun looked at Gu Chia and asked carefully, I think he is mentally ill, and he is seriously ill. There is no doctor here. He seems to know you. Gu Chia stared at Su Yun. But you too? Is it possible to know each other? He retired before I could even remember. Su Yun said, How can I have any communication with him? Of course, I don't know him. He is older than my godfather. I definitely don't know him. Your godfather? Gu Chia was stunned. Normal people would talk about their biological father. Su Yun's godfather was the first in his heart. It couldn't be helped. His biological father did not raise him. Su Yun grew up to this day because of his godfather, Zhang Taisui. Although Zhang Taisui also threw him to the Dragon Brigade, at least he still took care of and visited Su Yun. Unlike his unreliable biological father, Su Yun had almost no childhood memories of him. Chapter 38-45. Lin Gu held his chin and reasoned seriously. Same name, there must be someone with the same name. He was attacked by someone with the same name as you before, and then it left a psychological shadow. Now, he will become like this when the name is mentioned. Gu Chia nodded and agreed with Lin Ji's statement. This makes sense. After all, there are too many people with the same name in the world. You think this is reliable? There are many people with the same name in the world, but it doesn't mean that there are many people who look alike. Su Yun said, It's just the name. If that's the case, he would have been scared to death by the name in Huaxia. Lin Gu frowned. This is also. You really don't have a position. You think everything makes sense. Gu Chia was speechless. What kind of problem is this? Lin Gu shook his head helplessly. He better not be crazy. If he is crazy, wouldn't we have found him in vain? Su Yun saw that Jochin Xiu had a lot of scruples in front of him, so he did not go forward to provoke him. He just whispered next to him, Mr. Zhou Lao, we have never met before. It is absolutely impossible for us to have any grievances. Don't be nervous and don't think too much. You'd better calm down first, okay? How did you know I was here? I have been hiding for 20 years. 20 years, I still haven't been able to hide. Jochin Xiu's emotions seemed particularly agitated. Why don't you two go out first, and I will solve it? Gu Chia said. Su Yun frowned. Gu Chia was injured now. It seemed dangerous for her to stay and face a mentally disturbed guy. Su Yun did not dare to make a decision easily. Lin Gu couldn't care so much. He picked up the shotgun again and directly put it on Zhou Qianxiu's head. Haven't you seen it yet? He is a guy who is not amenable to persuasion. Who knows, maybe he's just faking it. To be honest, Lin Ji's words were not unreasonable. Zhou Qianxiu was indeed a guy who was not easily persuaded. If it weren't for the fact that Lin Gu wanted to feed him to the bear, he would not admit that he was Zhou Qianxiu. Although Lin Ji's actions were rash, it wasn't necessarily a bad idea. At least, before Su Yun came up with a better idea, this might be the only feasible way. Zhou Qianxiu calmed down immediately after being pointed at by the spear. This guy clearly knew what danger was. Have you calmed down? What were you pretending for just now? Did you think that you could make us pity you by acting crazy like this? Lin Gu said, let's not beat around the bush. I'm afraid there's no point in being polite with you. I'll just ask you one thing. If I ask you to disguise me as someone else, will you do it? If you can do it, then come with us. After this matter is settled, we will send you back in one piece. If you can't do it, then don't blame me for being impatient. I'll shoot you right now. Zhou Qianxiu stared at Lin Gu. It seemed that he was questioning again. Is he going to kill someone just because of this? We were polite just now, but don't take this politeness as an advantage. We are not good people. Never mind this kind of place, even in the downtown area, I dare to shoot you. Lin Gu was not joking with him. My brother and Miss Gu are patient, but I don't have much patience. Under the threat of Lin Gu, Zhou Qianxiu once again looked at Su Yun. If I help you, can you let me go? Don't look for me again. Do you think we want to look for you? Look at what kind of broken place you have found. Lin Gu said angrily, we won't come even if you invite us in the future. Su Yun could hear that Zhou Qianxiu did not mean this. Zhou Qianxiu still misunderstood him as someone who was harmful to him. Mr. Zhou, there seems to be some misunderstanding between us. Su Yun said, don't worry. As long as you are willing to help us, we will definitely write off any misunderstanding or other things. Zhou Qianxiu frowned. We don't have any misunderstanding. No. As long as I help you, you will forgive me. As long as you promise me, I will help you. If you don't promise, then kill me now. I have nothing to regret. What do you mean? Okay. My brother is magnanimous. I won't argue with you. Lin Gu quickly interrupted Su Yun's words. Who cared who this old guy misunderstood Su Yun as? As long as he promised to help, then everything was fine. Su Yun did not say anything more. Since it was like this, then so be it. Then let's get out of here now, Gu Chia said. Uncle Joe, you go back with us. After you finish things, I will arrange for someone to send you back. No, I can't let others know where I am. I can't. Zhou Qianxiu shook his head and shook his head vigorously. Then I will send you a car. You can drive back by yourself. Lin Gu said, don't worry. No one will be willing to come to this damn place. It's better if you can come back by yourself. We are all grateful to you. Zhou Qianxiu did not say anything. Perhaps he was more accepting of this plan. Gu Chia nodded. Okay, you don't like others to send you back. Then do as he said. Zhou Qianxiu acquiesced. Now you come with us. We are not too close to the car. I am afraid it will take some time, Su Yun said. It's already dark outside. Are we in a hurry now? Are you crazy? Zhou Qianxiu stared at Su Yun. Have you ever seen an Arctic wolf? Lin Gu was a little disdainful. Never mind the Arctic wolf, they had seen a polar bear, a mutant polar bear. You don't know how fierce the Arctic wolf is. It's easy to be attacked when you go out at night. Zhou Qianxiu seemed to have been attacked by Arctic wolves, so he had a lingering fear when he said this. Arctic wolves were rare animals in the polar regions. Many people also called them white wolves. In fact, they were also a subspecies of gray wolves. They were generally distributed in northern Eurasia, northern Canada, and northern Greenland. Arctic wolves were much larger than ordinary wolves. An adult Arctic wolf weighed about 100 kilograms. But all wolves were social animals. Arctic wolves were the same. They all lived in groups. Arctic wolves were very vigilant. When they arrived at a new environment, they would wander around the area. When they were sure that there was no danger, they would take a collective rest. When there was any movement, they would immediately be alert. In this extremely cold area, a hungry Arctic wolf pack was more difficult to deal with than a polar bear. Jochin Xiu knew very well what it meant to go out at night. Arctic wolves preferred to be active at night, and pine forests were also the habitat of wolves. Su Yun frowned. He knew that Jochin Xiu had more survival experience here than them. He definitely understood what the night meant. It's not that bad. It's just a wolf. Lin Gu said, even if we encounter a wolf, we don't need you to deal with it. Is that okay? It's not a problem to guarantee your safety. We just encountered a mutant polar bear. Is it hard to deal with a few wolves? You encountered a mutant polar bear. Hee hee. Although I haven't seen a mutant polar bear, I believe what you said is true. Why do you think I believe your words? Jochin Xiu said, do you think I'm a person who believes others so easily? Lin Gu was stunned. Su Yun also raised his head and looked at Jochin Xiu. They all understood what Jochin Xiu meant. Gu Qia's eyes widened in surprise. Could it be? You have seen a mutant Arctic wolf? Jochin Xiu shook his head. I don't know if it's a mutation, but I have never seen an Arctic wolf that is so big, so fast, and so powerful. Do you know, I used to have 9 dogs, 9. But now you have seen it. How many are left? 2. Gu Qia was stunned. Yeah. Jochin Xiu said, just that wolf killed 7 of my Alaskan dogs. The dogs I have are well trained. 2 of them can help me deal with a polar bear, but an Arctic wolf slaughtered 7 of my dogs. How can I not be afraid of that damn Arctic wolf? Lin Ji's scalp tingled when he heard it. Well-trained dogs were not necessarily weaker than wolves. A wolf killed 7 Alaskan dogs. This sounded a bit unrealistic. If these 7 dogs were not old, weak, sick, and disabled, it could only mean that there was something wrong with the wolf. It was definitely not an ordinary wolf. It was absolutely impossible for an ordinary wolf to have this kind of power. It was absolutely impossible. It seemed that after the Arctic ecology was destroyed, the polar bear was not the only animal that had mutated. Humans would taste the consequences of all this sooner or later. It would be too late to regret it. Nature would not give humans more chances again and again. Chapter 38-46. Lin Gu patted Jochin Xiu's shoulder. Do you want me to prove it to you? So, you tell me where you met the wolves. I will go and catch 2 for you now. Can you dispel your scruples? If you really dare to go, I will never stop you. Jochin Xiu said to Lin Gu, if you want to die, it has nothing to do with me. You old man's mouth is really annoying. Lin Gu was speechless. Is it necessary? Su Yun said faintly, some things that you have experienced may be a kind of shadow. Pigeon, don't force Mr. Zhou Lao. Give him some time to digest. Brother, don't you feel that this old man is playing with us? Lin Gu said, if he is really afraid of the Arctic wolf, why is he still staying in this place? In this place, there are only Arctic wolves and polar bears. They are all aggressive and dangerous things. As far as we know, there is also the existence of xenomorph. He must know all this. He didn't run away, which means that he is not afraid. The fear that he is showing now is just an act. Jochin Xiu was silent and did not make any explanation or refutation. Gu Qia also felt that Lin Ji's words were reasonable, so she said to Jochin Xiu, you really don't have to be like this with us. This is not good for any of us. The sooner we leave, the better. I don't think wolves generally live on ice lakes. Even Arctic wolves will choose the jungle. Su Yun said, this is a pine forest. If there is no accident, there are not many pine forests near Big Bear Lake. This may be the best place for Arctic wolves to survive. Jochin Xiu still did not speak. He lowered his head and fell into silence. He did not say a word, nor did he make any explanation or reply. He was silent as if everything had nothing to do with him. If Mr. Zhou Lao doesn't have certain survival skills or experience, he shouldn't come to such a place, right? Su Yun continued. He must have more experience than us if he can live alone in a sparsely populated place for so long. Since he is afraid of Arctic wolves, he still ran to the pine forest with Arctic wolves in the face of unknown danger. What does it mean? Although Jochin Xiu did not speak, Lin Gu asked, "What does it mean?" "It means that you're more worried about the unknown danger than the danger brought by the Arctic wolves." Su Yun continued to say to Jochin Xiu, "Because you have a way to solve the Arctic wolf crisis, am I right?" AI. Jochin Xiu finally sighed and stood up. Lin Gu snorted, "I told you that this guy was trying to play mind games with us. I admit that I do have experience in dealing with Arctic wolves. I do have a certain amount of experience," Jochin Xiu said, "but I want to tell you that I can survive in this place. All my survival experience is only for the day. In the face of the night, I have no choice. In the face of the night, I have more choices to hide in the house." Jochin Xiu was telling the truth. Su Yun and Lin Gu could both tell. Ninth Uncle, we have already spent a lot of time looking for you. We really can't wait until tomorrow, Gu Chia said. Moreover, to wait in such a place for a night? Wait until tomorrow's sky was bright before leaving? In this season, the night in this damn place lasted 15 or 16 hours. There was only such a small house here. Although there was a fire in the house, the temperature was not high. After all, it was a wooden house. There was only one wooden bed here, and the mattress was only enough for one person. So if so many of them stayed in this small wooden house for a night, it was probably not a wise decision. "Well, since you all said to go, then we will go," Jochin Xiu said, "but I have a premise. If we encounter Arctic wolves, we will take care of ourselves. I will have no time to take care of you. I will choose to escape by myself. Don't blame me for being ruthless to you." Su Yun smiled. "We can protect ourselves, and we can also protect you by the way." "Protect me? Hee hee." Jochin Xiu let out a sneer, which made people feel particularly uncomfortable. "Don't look down on people." Lin Gu also glanced at Jochin Xiu disdainfully. "If you really want to escape by yourself, maybe you are really dead. Follow us, and we will definitely save your life." Without waiting for Jochin Xiu to speak, Lin Gu added, "Your life is too important to us, so you can rest assured that even if I lose my life, I will not let you die. Do you understand what I mean?" Jochin Xiu went straight forward to open the door. As soon as the door of the small wooden house was pushed open, the cold wind poured directly into the room. Gu Chia couldn't help but shiver. "Since you are so stubborn, I have nothing to worry about. Let's go," Jochin Xiu said. "You don't have to say such serious words to me. I also tell you that I can save my life. You just need to save your own lives." Jochin Xiu walked out without looking back. Lin Gu followed closely, for fear that this guy would run away. After Jochin Xiu went out, he began to tidy up the sled. Su Yun took Gu Chia out, put her on the sled, and covered her with a thick blanket. The two Alaskan dogs immediately stood up. "As long as you two are obedient, we will never kill you and cook you in hot pot." Lin Gu smiled and touched the head of one of the Alaskan dogs. "Be good. When we find the car, I will make you some delicious food." There were also vacuum-packed beef, pig trotters, and other ready-to-eat food in the car. The two dogs understood and immediately began to wag their tails. Jochin Xiu took a deep breath. "Follow me. I will take you out of the pine forest first, and then you will lead the way." "Okay." Su Yun nodded. "Thank you for your hard work, Mr. Zhou Lao." Jochin Xiu led the way in front, and Lin Gu followed closely beside him. The two dogs pulled Gu Chia on the sled slowly, and Su Yun brought up the rear. God knows what was in this dark forest. There could be danger behind at any time. Because Jochin Xiu did not want to talk much, they were very silent along the way. Only the sound of the sled rubbing the ground could be heard. This feeling was really uncomfortable. The moment the cold wind blew, it would make people's hair stand on end. The whistling sound in the pine forest was also very uncomfortable. Suddenly, the two Alaskan dogs stopped. Jochin Xiu also stopped. His face instantly became very ugly. Su Yun vigilantly protected Gu Chia in his own range. Lin Gu also silently raised the shotgun in his hand. I said that you shouldn't do this at night. Damn it! Jochin Xiu scolded angrily. He knew that they had been surrounded by the Arctic wolves. They were completely surrounded. In the darkness, the cold light made people inexplicably break out in a cold sweat. Wolves were indeed more terrifying at night than during the day. Not to mention wolves, even a little tabby cat, which looked cute during the day, would make people feel uncomfortable when their eyes flashed coldly at night. As everyone knew, there were many special lenses at the bottom of the eyes of felines. These lenses had a strong ability to gather light. They could gather the weak scattered light around, gather it into a beam, and reflect it in a concentrated manner. Animals with this kind of glasses generally had strong nocturnal abilities. They could distinguish objects with small lights, and from the outside, it seemed that their eyes were shining. Wolves were such animals that had night vision. I really didn't expect that a few wolves could make me break out in a cold sweat. Lin Gu frowned. Well, it doesn't seem to be a few wolves. It should be more than a dozen. Wolves, this kind of gregarious animal, were really a headache. Since we have encountered them, there is no other way. Su Yun was open-minded, but this kind of animal is already very rare. Let's try not to kill them. It is not good for us if they really go extinct. Brother, at this time, you can still consider whether the Arctic wolves will go extinct. Lin Gu smiled bitterly. Okay, then let's kill the chicken to warn the monkey. Kill one to warn the 100. Jochin Xiu looked back at Su Yun and Lin Gu. If you can really do this, then I really thank you on behalf of the entire Arctic ecosphere. We are humane, unlike those inhumane bastards. Lin Gu said, we will never destroy the Arctic's ecological environment. You can rest assured about this. P.S. My dearest evildoers, the war has begun. I urgently need your help. I urgently need your help. The promotion mission of the latest 17K client has been released. Please be sure to download the latest 17K client from Old Immortal's exclusive connection. Here is the exclusive download link for Pen Spirit. http://img 17K Comp Simpliant and Roid 17K Red 5 1 2 Zuos Heap 5 1 2 Bishien Release APK pasted in the browser after copying. There is a requirement for the number of downloads. The small whips and candles of the editors are ready. Please help me complete the download mission. If the mission is not completed, my cry will become Please don't waste more than 10 seconds of your time. I usually don't ask you much. This time, you must help me and mobilize the people around you. After all, downloading is also good for you. Not only can you read the original version for free, but you can also receive VIP access to various activities. Monster Soldier King has been serialized for more than 1,300 days, more than 10 million words, nearly 700 million clicks on the main website, and 200,000 people's favorites. All kinds of channels on the internet, plus audio novels, etc., have more than 1 billion clicks. Hundreds of thousands of people pay attention to it. Its popularity is very high. It's time for the website to test Old Immortal. It's time to test the evildoers. Old Immortal is not a trendy person, so I don't know how to use a WeChat public account. I started late, so I need a lot of help from everyone. Pay more attention, forward it, and recommend it. Every step I take, I have your support and help. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Chapter 38-47. Jochin Xiu sneered, "It would be great if everyone could understand the consequences of serious ecological damage in the Arctic." Lin Gu gestured for Jochin Xiu to shrink back and let him stay within his and Su Yun's control range. Lin Gu was worried that this guy would really run away in order to escape. Then, it would be more difficult for them to find him again. Now the living circle of Arctic wolves seems to be getting closer and closer to that of humans. Gu Chia felt a little worried. Su Yun nodded. It's all because of the destruction of the Arctic ecology and global warming, which has led to serious changes in many environments in the Arctic Circle. Lin Gu asked in surprise, "Brother, there is one thing I really don't understand. What do you think the Arctic wolves are thinking? Logically speaking, they shouldn't like warm places. This thick wolf fur must have evolved to adapt to the cold. Now, they are getting closer to human living areas, but the further south they go, the warmer it is." Su Yun shook his head. "How do you know that the further south they go, the warmer it is?" "Please, brother. This is common sense, okay? But the premise is that they don't go to the South Pole." Lin Gu smiled bitterly while carefully observing the movements of the wolves. "But global warming may bring more disasters to humans than just hot weather. It may also bring more disasters to Arctic creatures than just hot weather. Su Yun, as the weather warms, the Earth's greenhouse effect causes the Atlantic meridional overturning circulation to disintegrate. Do you know what will happen?" Of course, Lin Gu didn't know. He was not a meteorologist, nor was he an oceanographer. He obviously didn't understand what Su Yun was talking about. If it is really global warming, and the Atlantic meridional overturning circulation disintegrates, the Earth will not get hotter, but colder. After that, the world will continue to warm, and the Atlantic meridional overturning circulation will still operate as usual. However, the global temperature will drop to about 0. Jochin Xiu said faintly. Lin Gu still wanted to doubt it, but when he saw Su Yun nod, he shut up. He didn't understand the reasoning behind it, but if Su Yun approved of it, he would definitely approve of it. The cooling of the atmosphere caused by the collapse of the Atlantic meridional overturning circulation is closely related to the flow of hot air into the ocean. Su Yun said, "Scientists and meteorologists have already witnessed this intermittent climate change. So, it's possible for Earth to enter an ice age again? If that day really comes, how long will it take to recover?" Gu Chia asked with her eyes wide open. Jochin Xiu looked up and said, "Maybe a century, or maybe 2 centuries. No one can prove all this by then, because everyone will die." When the climate cooled, or when the temperature of the atmosphere dropped due to volcanic eruptions, or when greenhouse radiation decreased, the heat flow would reverse and enter the atmosphere from the ocean. The same energy flow could be seen in the atmosphere. These extremely different energy flow fingerprints between the atmospheric radiation effect and the internal ocean circulation process showed that phase changes in climate were possible. Don't joke around. Lin Gu thought that Jochin Xiu was exaggerating. Will Earth enter another ice age? This was too exaggerated. Aren't you being an alarmist? The global warming brought about by the greenhouse effect will cause an unprecedented disaster on Earth. This may not be an alarmist. Su Yun said to Lin Gu, "I'm afraid that only the equator will not freeze at that time. You can imagine what the world will become. Maybe it only takes a small event for the global warming brought about by the greenhouse effect to trigger an unprecedented disaster on Earth." Jochin Xiu took a deep breath and smiled. The scenes in the disaster movies may become real. Hailstorms hit Tokyo, unprecedented hurricanes hit Hawaii, rare snow in India, unprecedented tornadoes in Los Angeles. Lin Gu felt that the more he said, the more outrageous it was. After all, a movie was a movie. The melting of the icebergs in the North and South Poles will pour a lot of fresh water into the ocean. Su Yun said faintly, "Once a global superstorm comes, it is not impossible for Earth to enter the Ice Age 10,000 years ago." Lin Gu swallowed a mouthful of saliva. He didn't want to believe this. It made people feel goosebumps all over. Gu Chia couldn't help but say, "At that time, it will not be easy for human beings to survive. I really don't know how the primitive people survived the Ice Age. In the Ice Age more than 10,000 years ago, even animals like mammoths were forced to become extinct. The primitive people can survive the Ice Age, but modern people can't survive it. Zhou Qianxiu said with certainty, living like a prince has already made modern people lose the capital to compete with the harsh living conditions. At that time, it will not only be cold, but also various crises and mutations of various ferocious animals. How many human beings do you think can survive? I'm afraid that no one can survive except for people like you who have the experience of surviving in hungry and cold areas, right? Su Yun said. Zhou Qianxiu snorted, I hope so too. But do you know that in the Ice Age, even mammoths could be frozen in the ice field? Do you think I, a human being, can withstand it? Hey. Do you think that the primitive people really have the ability to survive the Ice Age? It's just luck. Su Yun knew that Zhou Qianxiu's words made sense. The primitive people were lucky. There were very few humans at that time, far less than the current number. At that time, human adaptability was similar to that of animals. There was no electricity or fire, and they could eat any food raw. So, they relied on their wisdom, their appetite that was far less than that of animals, and their physique that could eat meat or grass to survive. Those herbivores really couldn't survive at that time. The whole earth was barren. What about people now? Could they survive in that situation? In the end, it would probably only evolve into a tragic world of cannibalism. At that time, even if people could survive, it would be better to die directly. At least, they would not have to face those horrible human nature if they died. Let's not think about whether the earth will enter the Ice Age. I think the encirclement of the wolves is getting smaller and smaller. Gu Qia frowned. She had heard the threatening whine from the Arctic wolf's throat. Soon, they could all smell the wolf's scent clearly. There were more and more Arctic wolves approaching. They were slowly shrinking the encirclement around them. Zhou Qianxiu's eyes began to search the surrounding pine trees. He seemed to have begun to make his own escape plan. Perhaps these Arctic pine trees were very reliable for him. If we don't teach them a lesson, they will definitely think of us as sick cats. Lin Gu picked up the shotgun. I don't want to destroy the Arctic ecology, but in this case, if we don't kill one to warn the others, they will take a mile after taking an inch. Lin Gu pulled the trigger after he finished speaking. The shotgun's bullet was extremely powerful. It knocked down an Arctic wolf with a bang. The Arctic wolf fell to the ground, and blood quickly spread on the ground. The wolves were frightened by the gunshot, but what surprised Su Yun and the others was that the wolves did not retreat because of the gunshot, but they lowered their bodies even more. All the Arctic wolves looked at their companions who were shot, and the threatening whine from their mouths became clearer. We don't know what these Arctic wolves have encountered, but I tell you, killing one to warn the others is meaningless to them. Zhou Qianxiu said, they know how dangerous the gun is, but they also know that they will starve without food. Lin Gu was really annoyed. These Arctic wolves were too bold. You don't know how delicious the four of us are in the eyes of the wolves. Even if they are full now, we are a very rich meal for their wolves. Zhou Qianxiu said, what's more, they are a group of hungry guys at the moment. Zhou Qianxiu said. Su Yun and the others did not know how Zhou Qianxiu judged their hunger. But what happened next in front of them made them realize that what Zhou Qianxiu said was right. The alpha wolf mentioned by Zhou Qianxiu appeared. Its body was much larger than other Arctic wolves. It stepped forward and tore off a piece of flesh from its companion. It threw its head to the left, and then the wolf on the left picked up the meat and continued to pass it to the left. The alpha wolf continued to tear off a piece of flesh from its companion, and then threw it to the right, and the wolf on the right continued to pass the meat to the right. This group of wolves was actually cooperating to pass the meat of their companions. The alpha wolf tore it off piece by piece, and the wolves began to pass it to the wolves at the other end of the encirclement. The alpha wolf tore off 15 pieces of meat, and the 15 Arctic wolves all had their companions' meat in their mouths. Chapter 38-48. The alpha wolf tore off the last larger piece of wolf meat and swallowed it in one bite. The other wolves followed the alpha wolf's actions and swallowed their companion's meat. Dash! The wolf howled suddenly in the night. One howl after another. There were basically two reasons why the wolf howled. First, it was because it was empty and lonely. It wanted to be comforted early, so it asked if anyone had an appointment. Second, it was to call for its companions. How many Arctic wolves are there in this place? Su Yun looked at Jochen Xiu with a little surprise. Jochen Xiu shook his head. To be honest, I really don't know. I only know that there were no Arctic wolves in this place 5 years ago, but a small wolf pack formed here 3 years ago. Just a few months ago, I met this giant wolf. Lin Gu picked up the shotgun again. Just now, this bastard hid behind. If I saw it in advance, the bullet would have been for it. The shotgun doesn't work on it. Jochen Xiu said faintly, "It's not that I haven't shot at it. It's not dead, and now it's standing in front of us intact. That's because you didn't hit it." Lin Gu didn't believe it. He wanted to see how tough these wolves could be. Lin Gu really didn't believe it. He was sure that as long as he shot, this giant wolf would definitely die. Although Jochen Xiu did not stop him, he warned him verbally, "If you shoot it, the consequences will be very serious." Su Yun noticed Jochen Xiu's preparation. He turned slightly sideways and was ready to jump. As long as Lin Gu pulled the trigger, Jochen Xiu would jump up the pine tree immediately. Obviously, he didn't have any intention of resisting. He was only ready to escape. "Pigeon, don't be rash." Su Yun motioned Lin Gu to put down the gun. At present, as long as Lin Gu dared to shoot, regardless of whether the alpha wolf was dead or alive, this group of Arctic wolves would attack them. There was no doubt about this. They seemed to eat their companions' bodies as a ritual, or perhaps they were all very hungry. The alpha wolf let them fill their stomachs and then hunt. The two sides were now in a state of balance, and the key was how to break this balance. Lin Ji's rash firing at the alpha wolf was clearly not a smart choice. Breaking the balance in this situation would definitely lead to trouble. Jochen Xiu's preparation was clearly reflected. He would escape to a higher place at the moment when the wolves attacked and let the three of them be bait. To put it bluntly, Jochen Xiu did not take more care of Gu Qia because Gu Gualong saved his life. On the contrary, Gu Qia sprained her ankle and could not get out of the sled. Instead, she became a bait that Jochen Xiu could throw out in the face of danger. Anyway, Su Yun and Lin Gu would never let Gu Qia be hurt by the wolves. They would definitely protect her, so the chances of Jochen Xiu escaping were greater. The wolves would definitely attack where there were more targets and wouldn't chase after a guy who had escaped. Su Yun finally understood why Jochen Xiu said that at this time. In this way, the reason was much simpler. He was 100% sure that he could escape because he understood the habits of these Arctic wolves. With them as bait, of course, he could escape. Su Yun couldn't help but feel disgusted by this guy's various behaviors and schemes. Unfortunately, no matter how disgusted Su Yun was, he couldn't say anything to him at this time. After all, Jochen Xiu was still a very important and needed partner. At this time, they couldn't do without Jochen Xiu's help. "Uncle Joe, do you have any solutions?" Gu Qia asked. Jochen Xiu shook his head and didn't even think about it. "I said it long ago. I said it before you asked me to come out. This is definitely not what you want. I also reminded you of the danger at night. We may be attacked. I said it all, but you didn't listen. If you intend to use us as bait to create a chance for yourself to escape, I advise you to give up." Su Yun, who had always been respectful to Jochen Xiu, finally couldn't help it. He didn't intend to give face to Jochen Xiu this time and directly exposed him. "You can even throw your benefactor's daughter as bait. This seems to be a bit too much." Jochen Xiu was stunned. He didn't expect Su Yun to expose him so ruthlessly. Jochen Xiu, who was exposed by Su Yun, was a little embarrassed for a while. It seemed that he had not reached the point of extreme shamelessness. "The pine tree you like is really good, but can you guarantee that you can jump up in front of me?" Su Yun continued to expose Zhou Qianxiu's plan. Zhou Qianxiu snorted. The feeling of his plan being exposed was really bad. The howling stopped, and the alpha wolf seemed to be ready to attack. Lin Gu couldn't help it. Brother, what should we do? If this guy doesn't have any good ideas, I will fight with this wolf first. We won't lose to these Arctic wolves, right? I can't care about ecological balance. If we don't kill them now, it will be too late. As a last resort, Zhou Qianxiu suddenly grabbed a bag of things from his arms, which looked like messy particles. Zhou Qianxiu waved his hand and threw these particles out directly in front of the Arctic wolves. Although Su Yun and the others were quite far away from him, the smell of this thing was enough to make people feel disgusted. It seemed to be some kind of particularly unpleasant Chinese medicine smell, and it also seemed to be some kind of particularly unpleasant animal feces smell. Anyway, Su Yun and the others had never seen such a bad smell. Durian smelled good in front of this smell. The stinky tofu that smelled like feces was also inferior in front of this smell. When Zhou Qianxiu threw this damn thing into the air, the wolves quickly took a few steps back. This was a concession without any order or warning. They retreated in fear. Obviously, they were very afraid of this smell. You are really poisonous. Lin Gu was speechless. The wolf's sense of smell was obviously many times stronger than that of human beings. If even they couldn't stand the smell, the wolves might have already suffered a fate worse than death. At this time, if the alpha wolf had not retreated, the other wolves might have already fled. After Zhou Qianxiu scattered the particles, he still looked at the wolves vigilantly. This thing was a good thing he made himself to drive away wolves. The main ingredient was polar bear feces, and then he added some of Zhou Qianxiu's adjustments. Not only did it make the smell 10 times stronger, but the smell also lasted longer. The Arctic wolves did not like polar bears, so they hated the smell of polar bears and polar bear feces. Zhou Qianxiu made this thing to deal with the Arctic wolves. Su Yun suddenly realized that when they first arrived near the cabin, he also vaguely felt this stench, but it was not so strong. It was estimated that it had been scattered outside for a long time. This was what Zhou Qianxiu used to deal with the Arctic wolves, so that the Arctic wolves would not get close to him. Zhou Qianxiu only had this pack now. He originally planned to go to the cabin to hide this time and scatter some to prevent the Arctic wolves from bothering him. He did not expect to use it in this situation. This was a good thing to save his life in front of the Arctic wolves. It's all because of you. I tell you, this thing can only restrict the Arctic wolves, but it can't repel them. Zhou Qianxiu said, if the howling just now was to summon more companions, then we are really in trouble. Lin Gu gritted his teeth. At most, we will just kill them. If they really started a massacre, it should not be difficult for Su Yun and Lin Gu to kill these Arctic wolves. At most they would be injured. They were afraid that Gu Qia would be hurt when they dealt with the wolves. After all, wolves were smart beasts with brains. They were also worried that Zhou Qianxiu would take the opportunity to escape. This was the concern of Su Yun and Lin Gu. More importantly, what would it mean if they killed the wolves? This was already a rare species to begin with. Su Yun really couldn't bear to kill it. If he had to kill it, he would choose a huge alpha wolf. As long as the pack of wolves was leaderless and realized that they didn't have the ability to fight against them, the pack of wolves would naturally disperse. There will be retribution for slaughtering so many Arctic wolves. Zhou Qianxiu said faintly. Although this guy's character was not good, and he was also a scheming old man, he was still quite worthy of respect for the protection of ecology and species. He faced the threat of animals here, but he did not intend to kill. This was obviously admirable. Chapter 38-49. Su Yun's current goal was very clear. He told Lin Gu, we only need to deal with the leader of the wolves. We don't need to pay attention to the rest. Didn't he just say that as long as we dare to attack the alpha wolf, the other wolves will definitely fight desperately? Lin Gu said, brother, this is completely contradictory. I'll leave the people to you to protect. Try to attack your target with minor injuries. Su Yun said, I'll lead the alpha wolf away. What do you want to do? Gu Chia couldn't help but ask. Lead the alpha wolf away? Are you crazy? These wolves will follow the alpha wolf to attack you. Are you going to put yourself in a wolf pack? If you don't kill the wolves at that time, you will be in danger. Su Yun smiled slightly. As long as you are no longer the target of the wolves' attack, it will be much easier for me to deal with it. Jochen Xiao looked at Su Yun and wanted to say that he was crazy, but he didn't say it. It was a good thing for him that someone was willing to lead the wolves away. As long as the wolves were gone, he had time to pick up the particles that repelled the wolves. He could still use them again. He would rather smear himself, his face, and his whole body with this stinky smell than be eaten by the wolves until there were no bones left. After all, he was a Hua Xia person. He was particular about having a whole corpse even if he died. Jochen Xiao thought that if he was about to die, he would go to the north and dig a hole for himself to lie in. He only needed to sleep for one night. The next day, he would be buried under the ice and snow forever. As for whether he would be dug out by some engineering project later, he didn't want to think about it. But in this damn place, as long as they didn't come to explore the Earth's resources, there shouldn't be any damn engineering projects. Give me the gun. Su Yun stepped forward and said, Take care of Gu Chia. If she is hurt by the wolves, it is your responsibility. Lin Gu frowned. Although he was unwilling, he still handed the gun to Su Yun. Then he quickly went to Gu Chia's side. He glanced at Jochen Xiao. If you don't want to die, you'd better stay close to the sled. I can't take care of you. If it weren't for me, these wolves would have already pounced on you. Do you still think that you're taking care of me now? Jochen Xiao obviously wanted to teach the younger generation a lesson so that Lin Gu could figure out who was in control of the situation now. It was him, Jochen Xiao, not Lin Gu. Lin Gu didn't say anything else. It seemed that he was indeed in the wrong. After all, he was the one who killed the Arctic wolf with a single shot. Killing one as a warning to the others didn't work, which made their situation even more dangerous. But Jochen Xiao did not take out this stinky thing earlier, which also showed that he was too selfish. Gu Chia's attitude towards him was also a lot more indifferent. After Su Yun received the shotgun, he slowly separated himself from the other three. His gaze never left the giant wolf that was leading the pack of wolves. The man and the wolf stared at each other. The green light in the giant wolf's eyes made Su Yun control his movements as much as possible. In this case, everything seemed to explode with the slightest change. As the atmosphere between Su Yun and the giant wolf became more and more tense, Lin Gu and Jochen Xiao also fell into silence. No one knew when the attack would be launched. Their breathing became more and more gentle. Not only the humans, but the wolves also seemed to feel the calm before the storm. There was a song that was sung well, afraid that the air would suddenly become quiet. The Book of Sway said, "Soldiers and horses know each other well. Once you make the first move, everything will be over. Seize the initiative and gain the initiative, and you can gain the initiative by striking first." Everyone understood the principle of striking first to gain the upper hand in all things in the world. Even animals might understand it. However, many encounters during hunting made some carnivores prefer to stay still. If the enemy doesn't move, I won't move. As a matter of fact, wolves were the most patient hunters in the entire natural world. Yes, wolves were ferocious, cruel, sinister, and cunning animals. However, this kind of social animal had some advantages that couldn't be ignored. Patience was one of them. Moreover, they had a strong resistance to nature. Their ability to withstand wind and snow was not something that ordinary creatures could compare to. Not only were there Arctic wolves, but there were also Antarctic wolves. They could be found in these hungry and cold areas. When the empire on which the sun never set invaded, it did not stop the people in the Antarctic wolves' habitat from hunting Antarctic wolves. The locals even formed a powerful wolf extermination team with the invaders who also hated wolves. Therefore, the Antarctic wolves that used to live in the southern tip of Argentina had been extinct many years ago. Perhaps in the eyes of many people, wolves were not good things, but why did Su Yun and the others not intend to exterminate this pack of wolves? Just ask the locals who slaughtered the Antarctic wolves with the empire on which the sun never set. With the extinction of the Antarctic wolves, the local herbivores and rodents multiplied rapidly, and their numbers increased day by day. They ate a lot and destroyed the grasslands, causing the original lush grasslands to disappear and be replaced by large tracts of sandy land. The shepherds who lost their grasslands had to find other jobs. Why did Hua Xia implement measures more than 10 years ago and enact a wildlife protection law? The grassland wolves had been listed as a second-class national protected animal in Hua Xia. It was to control the group of bastards who hunted and killed the grassland wolves for huge profits. Imagine, once the wolves disappeared, how long could the grasslands that Hua Xia was so proud of last? Although Su Yun didn't like wolves, he didn't hate them either. Nature needed animals to keep each other in check. If there wasn't such a check, the ecology would be greatly damaged. This was unavoidable. Humans were the best example. There was nothing on this earth that could restrain humans. Whether it was the eagle in the sky, the tiger on the land, or the giant shark in the sea, no creature could compete with humans. Wisdom ruled the earth, but the ecological balance of the earth had begun to suffer unprecedented destruction. The earth was prosperous because of humans, but sooner or later it would be destroyed because of humans. This was an indisputable fact. Whether it was 2012, the day after tomorrow, or destruction of the core of the earth, and other disaster movies, maybe one day it would really happen to our generation. It must be known that all the politicians in the world were the same. They would choose to lie and cheat for the peace and tranquility of the people under their governance. Such unrestrained destruction of the Earth's ecology, pollution of the Earth's environment, and exploitation of the Earth's resources. Were the unlucky ones really only our descendants? Perhaps our descendants would not have the chance to be born, and all the disasters would happen to our generation. This was the reality. Su Yun launched the first attack at the moment when the air seemed to solidify. He knew that the giant wolf would keep waiting. It had the patience to wait until Su Yun and the others were frozen before launching the attack. Therefore, Su Yun did not wait any longer and did not waste any more time. He made the first move. In the blink of an eye, Su Yun's figure flashed over the head of the giant wolf. The moment he leaped to the vantage point, he directly aimed the muzzle at the giant wolf directly below him. Bang! The power of the Winchester M1887 was still very powerful. Perhaps many people had not seen a real gun, but they had seen this kind of powerful and low firing rate lever-action shotgun in the game. It was commonly known as the Governor, and was known as the sniper of shotguns. Its bullets were densely scattered, and with arrow-shaped ammunition, its shooting range was second only to the Frankie and the shotgun under the rifle. The giant wolf was shot, and the pain made it jump up crazily. It wanted to directly pounce on Su Yun in the air. This giant wolf was the same as the giant polar bear they had just encountered. It seemed to have practiced the Golden Bell iron shirt. Bullets had no fatal effect on them at all. When the giant wolf almost pounced on Su Yun, and when Su Yun rolled in the air to avoid the wolf's fur, he seemed to understand why these mutants were not so afraid of bullets. The texture of the wolf's fur was definitely different from ordinary wolves. Perhaps it was this kind of fur that reduced the power of the bullet. The bullet was shot out in rotation. After coming into contact with this kind of mutated fur, the friction between the mutated fur and the bullet was 100 times stronger than ordinary fur. Therefore, the power of the bullet hitting the giant wolf's body was naturally reduced by 100 times. Therefore, even if Su Yun shot it at such a close distance, it was still able to retaliate against Su Yun. It was really incredible. Chapter 3850. Su Yun landed after dodging the giant wolf's attack. He rolled directly out of the encirclement of the wolves, but the goal of the wolves was very clear at the moment. The alpha wolf had already attacked Su Yun. Su Yun naturally became the target of all the other Arctic wolves. The furious Arctic wolves began to attack Su Yun one after another. After Su Yun stood up, there was almost no time to react. He kicked out with a whip kick. The first Arctic wolf that rushed up was directly kicked by the huge leg force. Its whole body flew out a few meters before it fell heavily to the ground. This kick was enough to make the poor Arctic wolf lie in the snow and rest for 3 to 5 days. But the attack of the wolf pack had already been launched. It was impossible to stop under the deterrence of Su Yun's kick. The Arctic wolves that rushed towards Su Yun could not stop at all. One after another. Su Yun had been completely surrounded by the ferocious Arctic wolves again, and the other 3 people had escaped the threat of the wolves. Zhou Qianxiu did not hesitate to run away. He did not intend to stay to help, but as soon as he took a step, he was hooked by Lin Ji's leg. "Do you still have any humanity?" Lin Gu glared at Zhou Qianxiu. "We can't help at all. He delayed the wolves to give us time to escape." Zhou Qianxiu got up in the snow and did not feel that there was anything wrong with his behavior. Lin Gu really wanted to slap him. "I'm telling the truth. If we go forward now, what he did will be meaningless." Zhou Qianxiu said angrily, "Do you want him to be in danger for nothing? Even if we go, it will not be in the direction of your escape." Lin Gu certainly understood Su Yun's original intention and motive. He pulled Zhou Qianxiu to his side and tied a rope on the sled directly to Zhou Qianxiu's body. Zhou Qianxiu exclaimed and wanted to resist, but Lin Ji's hand was so fast that he was tied up tightly in an instant. In this way, Zhou Qianxiu could not run away. He could only pull Gu Qia along with the 2 Alaskan dogs. "Follow me." Lin Gu also pulled up a lead rope on the sled and continued to walk out of the pine forest. Zhou Qianxiu could not resist. He could only stagger and follow Lin Gu and the 2 Alaskan dogs to escape with Gu Qia. As long as they could escape from the pine forest, the wolves didn't like to go to the ice surface of Big Bear Lake. That kind of place made them feel very uncomfortable, and only polar bears could be hunted on the ice surface of Big Bear Lake. Although wolves would also attack polar bears when they were hungry, they were very clear about the consequences of their actions. If they attacked the polar bears, the wolves would inevitably suffer losses, sometimes even very serious losses. Therefore, they would not easily provoke the polar bears on the ice of Big Bear Lake. Gu Qia looked back worriedly. Another Arctic wolf was sent flying by Su Yun's kick. It flew for 5 or 6 meters before falling down. After falling down, it whimpered and could not stand up to continue fighting. She was afraid that it broke its legs. "We will wait for you outside the pine forest." Gu Qia shouted in the direction of Su Yun. Zhou Qianxiu was so scared that he quickly quickened his pace. He was afraid that Gu Qia would attract the attention of the wolves. His worry was obviously not groundless. Sure enough, 2 wolves turned and suddenly ran in the direction of the 3 of them. "Go to the car and wait for me." Su Yun's voice came out from the wolves. He knew that the sooner they reached the car, the safer they would be. The 2 wolves were very fast. In the blink of an eye, they were about to catch up with the 3 of them. Zhou Qianxiu finally broke out his potential to escape. He frantically dragged the sled forward. Lin Gu turned around and blocked the back of the sled, protecting Gu Qia behind him. The Arctic wolf that rushed up howled and opened its bloody mouth to tear Lin Ji's throat. Unfortunately, Lin Gu was not polite to them. He grabbed the wolf's head that was about to bite him. Under the huge inertia, Lin Gu suddenly exerted force. He used the force to throw an adult Arctic wolf out directly. He heavily smashed into a North Pole pine tree, and the sound of bones cracking was enough to make one's liver tremble. In this environment, the Arctic wolf with a broken spine could only become food in the mouths of its companions. The Arctic wolf, who had witnessed its comrade being smashed against the tree trunk with a broken spine, suddenly slowed down. It realized that its other comrade was not following it. If it were to attack, it would face the same fate as its comrade. Before Lin Gu took the initiative to attack, it turned around and ran back. Compared to launching an attack on its own, it was a smarter choice to attack Su Yun with its companions. Pack animals were very good at taking advantage of the number of wolves. This was vividly demonstrated by wolves. Lin Gu raised a middle finger at the escaping wolf. Unfortunately, the wolf could not understand what Lin Gu meant. Looking at the back of the Arctic wolf, Lin Gu really wanted to rush up and kick it down. Lin Gu would definitely be worried about Su Yun's safety. After all, he was facing the wolf pack alone. There was also a mutant giant wolf that was not even afraid of bullets. But Lin Ge could not go forward to help Su Yun. He had his own task to protect Gu Qia and keep an eye on Jiuqin Xiu. No one could guarantee whether there would be other animals that would threaten Gu Qia in this pine forest, so Lin Ge could not leave Gu Qia's protection range. He turned and caught up with the sled, picked up a lead rope, and continued to run with Gu Qia. In addition, Lin Ge could not let Jiuqin Xiu out of his sight. Lin Ge could guarantee that as long as his sight left Jiuqin Xiu for more than a minute, Jiuqin Xiu would dare to find a place to hide so that they could not see him. This son of a bitch! Lin Ge glanced at Jiuqin Xiu, who was running for his life, and secretly scolded in his heart. Jiuqin Xiu's desperate escape was definitely not for Gu Qia's safety. He was doing it for himself. He knew that his life was tied to Gu Qia's, so he ran for his life. Lin Ge dared to say that at this time, Jiuqin Xiu's strength in pulling the sled was definitely greater than that of an Alaskan retriever. Su Yun's peripheral vision passed through the wolves and saw the three people's figures getting farther and farther away. The worry in his heart was getting less and less. He finally let go of his hands and feet to deal with the wolves without scruples. As long as the mutant giant wolf's attention was on him, he had nothing to worry about. At this moment, 6 wolves had collapsed under Su Yun's attack. All of them were seriously injured. Although they could not die, they had definitely lost their fighting power. After all, Su Yun wasn't here to play around with them. She was here for real. Under Su Yun's powerful attack, the other Arctic wolves began to realize the danger of Su Yun. The wolves, who had not yet become extinct after being besieged and slaughtered by humans, naturally had their own wisdom. The remaining wolves stopped their brainless suicidal attacks and stopped to make an attack posture. They continued to make ferocious low growls. Although they still looked like they wanted to fight with Su Yun on the surface, they had already developed a sense of fear for Su Yun deep down. Su Yun was still very clear about this. He could feel the fear of the Arctic wolves for him. In the face of a powerful opponent, the Arctic wolves could clearly have a sense of self-awareness. If they couldn't beat the opponent, they couldn't beat the opponent. At this moment, in the eyes of this group of Arctic wolves, Su Yun was obviously a guy who was 10 times more difficult to deal with than a polar bear. They must be wondering if they were dreaming. How could there be such a powerful human? Su Yun didn't shoot again. He didn't intend to shoot all the wolves. If he wanted to kill, he would only kill this huge wolf leader. It was enough to kill just one of them. The eyes of the alpha wolf flashed with a green light. The green light did not hide its hatred for Su Yun. Su Yun was probably the prey it wanted to eat the most in its life. No, it shouldn't be prey, it should be enemy. Yes, at this moment, in its eyes, Su Yun was the most hated and troublesome enemy. The alpha wolf's low whimper suddenly became louder. The other Arctic wolves seemed to have received an order from the alpha wolf and took a step back. They seemed to be consciously expanding the encirclement. To be exact, it was more like a coliseum. Su Yun was the duelist, and the leader of the Arctic wolf pack was the ferocious beast in the coliseum. Now there were only 2 situations. The first was that it tore Su Yun apart, and the second was that Su Yun killed it. There was absolutely no third choice. The other Arctic wolves were all spectators. They could only be spectators and couldn't get involved at all. Chapter 38:51. Lin Ge, Xiu Xiu, and the 2 Alaskan dogs ran out of the pine forest for more than 10 minutes. As soon as they walked out of the pine forest, they felt the chill on the ice of Big Bear Lake. Now, even if he wanted to go back to help Su Yun, Lin Ge was afraid that he could not find the way back. The pine forest was too complicated. There was no reference in this place. It was almost exactly the same. The sky was already very dark. How far is your car from here? Jiuqin Xiu could finally breathe a sigh of relief. His experience made him very sure that the Arctic wolf would not chase them to the ice of Big Bear Lake. The temperature of the ice of Big Bear Lake was lower than that of the pine forest, which would cause the Arctic wolf to consume more heat. There was no shelter on the ice of Big Bear Lake, which was not conducive for them to lurk and hunt. More importantly, there was almost no other prey on the ice of Big Bear Lake except for the polar bear. Lin Gu ignored him and looked back at the pine forest again. He seemed to be praying for Su Yun. It's still quite far, more than 10 miles. Gu Chia said helplessly. Her foot injury made her unable to walk alone. Lin Gu, Zhou Xiao, and the Alaskan dogs pulled her together, which made them consume more heat and physical strength. Gu Chia was very sorry. Zhou Xiao shook his head with an expression of disbelief. It's so far. We may not be able to reach it even if we walk all night. I think we should just go back to my house on the island and stay there for a night. The temperature here at night is colder than during the day. It's more than 10 degrees below zero. Lin Gu glared at Zhou Xiao. We have already agreed to meet at the car. Now you say we're going to your house? Why didn't you say this earlier? Meet at the car? Do you really think he can meet with us? Zhou Xiao snorted disdainfully. Lin Gu was already unhappy with him. Now he was in a bad mood. When he heard Zhou Xiao's voice, he could no longer bear it. He stepped forward and punched Zhou Xiao directly to the ground. Gu Chia yelled at him to stop, but her words had no effect on Lin Gu. Lin Gu only listened to Su Yun. The words of others were of no use to him. What do you mean? Tell me clearly. Lin Gu rode directly on Zhou Xiao's body and raised his fist again. As long as Zhou Xiao said something discouraging or unlucky, he would not hesitate to give him a taste of his fist. Is hitting me useful? Zhou Xiao met Lin Ji's gaze. Even if you kill me today, you can't change anything that might happen. Shut your crow's beak. This will be my last warning to you. Lin Ji's fist hit Zhou Xiao's face directly. Zhou Xiao's left cheek swelled instantly, and blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. Next time, it won't be as simple as a punch. Zhou Xiao spat a mouthful of blood to the side. Stop fighting. It's useless for you to hit him. Let's hurry up. Gu Chia said, if you don't like to listen to him, don't care about his words. Stop making trouble. Lin Gu stood up. He was puzzled in his heart. It's his mouth that is annoying. Miss Gu, I will give you face. I won't stoop to his level. Yes, it's good that you think so. Don't stoop to his level. Gu Chia finally breathed a sigh of relief. Su Yun was not here. She really couldn't control the situation. Zhou Xiao also got up from the ground. He took off his nose and threw it on the ground. Of course, it was a fake nose. It had been injured by Lin Ji's fist just now. Once the fake facial features were unnatural, it was meaningless for him to wear it. It should be me who won't stoop to his level. Zhou Xiao glared at Lin Gu with some resentment. After all, he was already so old. How could Lin Gu really hit him just because he said so? The fist was so heavy that the 4 teeth behind his back were loose. This was someone who asked him for help. He really didn't know what was going on in this kid's mind. He really didn't take him seriously. Zhou Xiao, I'm warning you. You'd better not provoke me. I'm already being polite to you now. Lin Gu promised Gu Chia to give her face, so he held back his anger. But he obviously did not have much patience. I know you're unhappy, but don't take it out on me. Zhou Xiao said. He faced the kind of mutant wolf that can't even be killed by bullets alone. Do you really think he has a chance to escape? Zhou Xiao's doubts obviously angered Lin Gu again. This time, he angered not only Lin Gu, but also Gu Chia couldn't help but get angry. Uncle Zhou, what do you mean by this? Gu Chia did not wait for Lin Gu to get angry. She struggled to stand up on the sled first. Zhou Xiao stared at Gu Chia with his eyes wide open. He said incredulously, do you also believe that Guy can come out alive? Of course. Gu Chia said with certainty, what do you think? If we can't be sure that he can come out safely, we will never leave him and run out by ourselves. Absolutely impossible. Do you understand? Phew. Jochen Xiu breathed a sigh of relief. At this moment, he thought they were all crazy. Yes, they must all be crazy. Only a crazy person would have such a naive idea. Normal people would not think so at all. Miss Gu, now you know how much this grandson deserves a beating, right? Lin Gu gritted his teeth and said, "This grandson actually wants my brother to be bait over there and then save his own life. He doesn't intend to let my brother come out alive." Jochen Xiu corrected, "It's not that I don't intend to let your brother come out alive, but those wolves don't intend to let him come out alive. It has nothing to do with me. If you have any hatred, go find those wolves. I didn't let those wolves deal with you. It's because you didn't listen to me that you ended up in this situation." Speaking of this, Jochen Xiu was a little agitated. Gu Qia stood in his position and thought about it. This seemed to be understandable. Indeed, he had already warned them about the wolf pack. If it wasn't for them, he wouldn't have left the wooden house. "I will never blame myself for your affairs. None of this is what I want. I was forced to get involved." Jochen Xiu became more agitated as he spoke. "Why? Why should I get involved in trouble because of your affairs? Why should I be responsible for getting involved in your troubles? I only need to be responsible for my own life. Whatever happens to you has nothing to do with me. It's all your own fault. Am I wrong?" These words that made Lin Gu want to hit him actually made Lin Gu speechless. "Uncle Joe, don't say any more. I know. I can understand that you don't believe that Su Yun can come out, but I also hope that you can respect us because we believe in him." Gu Qia said, "So, don't say any more, okay?" Jochen Xiu still couldn't calm down his anger. "You think I want to say it? I'm just reminding you. Who knows that you are all so stubborn? This is not stubbornness." Lin Ji's eyes were emitting flames. "This is trust." Jochen Xiu really didn't want to talk nonsense with Lin Gu anymore. Good, very good, very good. It's trust, right? Trust, very good. Then, do you dare to make a bet with me? Faced with Jochen Xiu's aggressive look, Lin Gu agreed without thinking, "Of course. I just believe that my brother can come and meet us safely. If he can come out alive and meet us by the car, I will agree to all your requests. I will do whatever you ask me to do." Jochen Xiu said, "If I break my promise, I will be struck by lightning and eaten by wolves." Faced with Jochen Xiu's confidence, Lin Gu couldn't wait to punch again. "But what if you lose? What if he can't come out to meet us?" Jochen Xiu said, "Then don't bother me anymore. I won't do anything for you. You can't threaten me anymore. Whoever doesn't keep their promise will die in this frozen northwest region." This was really vicious. But Lin Gu still agreed without thinking. "Okay. I'll do as you say. I will make you lose convincingly. I have never seen such stubborn people like you. It's time to let you know what reality is." Jochen Xiu really didn't believe that he would lose. "I want you to know that reality is cruel." Chapter 38:52. Lin Gu suddenly lost his impulse in the face of the righteous Jochen Xiu. He began to realize that he and Jochen Xiu were not the same kind of people at all, so he couldn't understand what Jochen Xiu and these people were thinking. Reality is indeed cruel, but it is only for people like you. For us, promises must be kept. Lin Gu faintly warned Jochen Xiu, "We said that we would meet at the car. My brother will definitely come out. Yes, Su Yun gave us a promise, so he will definitely come." Gu Qia also said seriously to Jochen Xiu. Jochen Xiu looked at the two of them with completely incomprehensible eyes and finally shook his head. "You really won't give up until all hope is gone? Then I really want to see how he will fulfill his promise to you. I just want to let you know that a promise is just a promise. If it can be fulfilled, people will feel that a promise is a very powerful thing. But if it can't be fulfilled, people will understand that a promise and an agreement are just a few words. That's all. Then let's see who is right and who is wrong." Lin Gu snorted and continued on the road. He didn't know if it was because of this bet, but Jiuqian Xiu once again became very hardworking. He also wanted to go to the car as soon as possible. At least he could wait in the car warm for a night. He didn't mind sleeping in the car. The car with air conditioning was warmer than his house. The three people walked in silence for more than half an hour. Achoo! Gu Chia couldn't help but sneeze. She had been sitting on the sled. Her inactivity made her colder than Lin Gu. Jiuqian Xiu looked back at Gu Chia. The temperature now should be lower than when you came. It's more than 10 degrees below zero. You can't stand it anymore. If you can't bear it, it's not too late to go to my house on the island now. I can hold on, Gu Chia said. She had agreed with Su Yun to meet at the car, so they must meet at the car. This was something that no one could change. Okay. Jiuqian Xiu nodded. Because of your father, I will remind you more. After 2 hours, it will be the coldest time here. If we stay outside, we won't be able to withstand the heat. No human can withstand that temperature, not even the Eskimos. Gu Chia could feel that it was at least minus 50 degrees Celsius now. If the temperature was below 10 degrees Celsius, it would be minus 60 degrees Celsius. Even people who lived in the Arctic Circle wouldn't like this temperature. Gu Chia had heard from an old man that there was a small village called Oymyakon. The average temperature in winter was minus 50 degrees Celsius, and the coldest time was minus 60 degrees Celsius. Even the locals would have trouble dealing with this temperature. In such a situation, the glass would freeze and crack, and the battery of the phone would drain rapidly. If the power was cut off, the water pipes would freeze and crack. If the car wanted to start, it would have to be operated 24 hours a day. Otherwise, it would be impossible to restart the car after a short pause. Although there was a signal here, it was impossible to use it under such conditions. At the thought of this, Gu Chia couldn't help but worry. What if they reached the car and the windows were frozen and the car couldn't start? Wouldn't that mean they had to spend the night in this cold temperature? It was simply impossible for her to survive this. She would definitely die here. Gu Chia couldn't help but shiver when she thought of this. Uncle Joe, in such cold weather, I'm afraid the car can't start. Since Gu Chia thought of this, she naturally had to say it. Jiuqian Xiu said, yes, so the best choice is to go back to the house with me. It is a very, very irrational decision to go to the car. Impossible. Lin Gu did not turn his head. Gu Chia also shook her head. No matter what, we have to go to the car and wait for Su Yun. Then, we will make plans. He. Jiuqian Xiu seemed to be too lazy to talk about them. For Jiuqian Xiu, they were two lunatics with water in their heads, completely unreasonable lunatics. Gu Chia's words made Lin Gu fall into silence. If such a situation were to happen, they would be in a miserable state. But he still comforted Gu Chia. Miss Gu, you can rest assured. My brother must have a way to solve these things. He can solve anything. At least, I don't know anything that he can't solve. Gu Chia smiled slightly. Lin Ji's words made her feel more at ease. She did not think that Lin Gu was comforting her at all because she had never seen a problem that Su Yun could not solve, so she was willing to choose to believe in Su Yun. Jiuqian Xiu felt that the two of them were very naive. It was better to communicate with his two Alaskan dogs than to talk to them. The three of them walked on the ice for more than half an hour. Suddenly, the vibration from the lake made all three of them stop. Jiuqian Xiu's face became very ugly. He seemed to realize some danger, but he did not say a word. He did not want to communicate with Lin Gu. Lin Gu knew that there must be a situation, but he did not have the experience to judge what the situation was. If Jiuqian Xiu did not say anything, he could not ask him, so he was stunned. When the three of them were stunned, the vibration came again. This time, Jiuqian Xiu made a clear judgment. Damn it. What happened? Gu Chia looked at Jiuqian Xiu and asked. You just said that you met a giant polar bear. This may be caused by that thing, said Jiuqian Xiu. Lin Gu shook his head and denied. Impossible. When he first felt the vibration, he also doubted it. After all, this kind of vibration could only be caused by large animals, but Lin Gu and the others watched the giant polar bear fall into the ice lake. There was no possibility of it climbing out. It's impossible for a normal polar bear to cause this kind of vibration. Zhou Qianxiu insisted, "You won't believe anything I say, right?" "I don't mean to target you," Lin Gu said, "but I want to tell you that I saw it with my own eyes, so it's impossible." The vibration seemed to be getting closer and closer, which made Lin Gu somewhat flustered. "Well, I choose to believe what you saw with your own eyes, but I want to tell you that this kind of vibration definitely comes from a large animal. If it's not the giant bear you said, then it may be the extinct mammoth." Whether Zhou Qianxiu's words were sarcastic or not, only he himself knew. Lin Gu ignored him. Even if it was sarcasm, he was too lazy to pay attention to him. "What should we do now?" Gu Qia looked at Zhou Qianxiu and asked. She hoped that he could rely on his experience to solve these sudden problems and troubles. "Whether it's a giant bear or a mammoth, the only thing we can do now is to run quickly," Zhou Qianxiu said, "because this thing is coming in our direction." Lin Gu glared. "Do you want to run back again?" "Zhou, I'm telling you, I'm not easily fooled by you. No matter what it is, don't even think about running back. It's absolutely impossible." Zhou Qianxiu seemed to have been disappointed with Lin Gu. "I knew you would say that. Then I can only wish us good luck. If we run into it, then you can only solve the problem. I can't help you." "I didn't expect you at all," Lin Gu said unceremoniously, "but I want to tell you that even if you encounter any danger, you should protect Miss Gu for Mr. Gu's sake. If you can't even do this, then you are really not worthy of being a human." Zhou Qianxiu ignored Lin Ji's words. For these things, Zhou Qianxiu had his own calculations in his heart. What kind of things he should do and what kind of things he should not do. His heart was as clear as a mirror. "Let me tell you, I know very well in my heart how to solve my problem, but you don't know." Lin Gu always felt that Zhou Qianxiu was one of the people he looked down on the most, so he never had a good impression of Zhou Qianxiu. Zhou Qianxiu made a very disdainful snort. "Making a judgment about me when you don't know me is very naive. It's really naive." Chapter 38:53. Although the three of them tried their best to avoid the direction of the sound was still getting closer and heavier. Finally, in the boundless darkness, a huge white figure appeared not far away. "Impossible!" Gu Qia's eyes became more and more dazed. She was really shocked. That figure was obviously the huge polar bear. It could really climb up. Lin Gu was also shocked. It was almost impossible for them to escape at this distance. Lin Gu had just seen the speed of the giant bear. They still had to drag Gu Qia on the sled. It was impossible to get rid of the speed of the giant bear. It's the giant bear just now. We must get out of here as soon as possible." Lin Gu quickened his pace. Even Su Yun did not confront the giant bear head-on. What did this mean? It meant that the strength of the giant bear was unpredictable. Su Yun did not intend to take risks. Therefore, Lin Gu could determine how dangerous this thing was. It was really not something that ordinary people could resist. "Run." Zhou Qianxiu's legs were a little weak. Although the giant bear was still far away from them, he already felt scared because a normal polar bear could not be seen at this distance, but this giant bear could be seen. It was at least twice as big as those normal tall polar bears. The speed of polar bears was actually not slow. Although they were fat, they were flexible. "If we don't run, are we going to stay and wait?" Lin Gu glared. "Do you think polar bears are slow?" Zhou Qianxiu said, "We can't escape in this situation. Running now is just a waste of energy. It's meaningless." Gu Qia knew what Zhou Qianxiu meant, although Zhou Qianxiu did not make it clear. "You put me down and run. It's impossible to escape with me." Gu Qia suddenly said such a sentence. "What are you talking about?" Lin Gu immediately rejected it. "I'm telling you, this is impossible. We will never give up on you. Even if I throw you here today, I can't let you get hurt. This matter has nothing to do with you. You came to such a dangerous place because of us. Then your matters have even less to do with me. Jochen Xiu said, You untie the leash for me. I absolutely don't want to die here like you, absolutely not. Don't implicate me in your affairs. Let me go. Lin Gu didn't have the time to beat him up. Hurry up and run. Maybe we can find a place to hide. It's so dark, maybe it hasn't discovered us yet. Do you think it chased us because it saw us? Jochen Xiu sneered, You really don't know polar bears at all. The world's largest land carnivore has a sense of smell that you can't even imagine. Lin Gu was stunned for a moment. He only knew that polar bears could run up to 60 kilometers per hour. In this day and age, cars were limited to 40 kilometers per hour in urban areas. One could only imagine how fast polar bears could run. He was a typical example of an agile fatty. What was worse was that the giant bear was not only twice as tall and heavy as a normal polar bear, but its speed also seemed to be twice as fast. Running at a speed of over 100 kilometers per hour, even the cars on the highway couldn't compare. Although polar bears' vision and hearing are similar to humans, their sense of smell is very sensitive. Let me tell you, the polar bear's sense of smell is not even comparable to my 2 dogs. The polar bear's sense of smell is 7 times that of dogs. It can smell within a radius of 3 kilometers and even several meters under the ice. It came because it smelled your scent. Lin Gu and Gu Chia opened their mouths in surprise. They didn't expect the polar bear's sense of smell to be so terrifying. It was 7 times that of dogs. How sensitive was it? It was you who provoked it just now. The only thing it remembers is your smell. It has nothing to do with me. You can't hurt me too. Let me go. Its target is you, not me. Jochen Xiu kept complaining. He really regretted that he didn't bring a knife with him. If he had a knife, he could cut the leash directly. Are you still a man? Are you going to leave Miss Gu here and escape by yourself? Lin Gu said, I have nothing to say if you leave me behind, but you can't leave Miss Gu behind. I don't want to do that either. But this is a situation we can't change. Jochen Xiu really had no desire to escape. You can't leave her behind. Lin Gu ignored Jochen Xiu's intention and continued to speed up his pace. The 2 Alaskan Malamutes also smelled the danger and ran wildly on the ice. Jochen Xiu couldn't wait to strangle Lin Gu directly. Unfortunately, he didn't have this opportunity. All he could do now was to run wildly with Lin Gu. Gu Chia kept shaking her head. No, you can't escape with me. Lin Gu, don't worry about me anymore. Don't say it again. I will never do that. Lin Gu refused. The running giant bear was less than 200 meters away from them at the moment. With its leap of nearly 10 meters, it would catch up with them in less than a minute. Jochen Xiu looked back at the giant bear for the last time. He could even judge the height of the giant bear. He suddenly stopped. It's no use. It's impossible. We can't escape at all. Jochen Xiu wanted to cry. He completely gave up struggling. The 2 Alaskan Malamutes saw that their master had given up and realized that they couldn't escape their fate. They stopped and whimpered in the snow. Lin Gu didn't give up. He threw the leash to the ground and turned to prepare to fight the giant bear. Since Su Yun could get it into the ice hole, he believed that he could do it too. Unfortunately, this polar bear was not a stupid donkey. It would never smash the ice crazily again. When they gave up running, the huge polar bear caught up in the blink of an eye. It roared to the sky and rushed directly at Lin Gu, who was facing it. Lin Gu rolled sideways to avoid the attack of the giant bear. The only weapon he could use was the pistol. At this time, Lin Gu was not stingy with the bullets. The pistol rang, and the bullets hit the giant bear's body one after another. Although the giant bear did not have as long hair as the Arctic wolf, the polar bear's rough skin and thick subcutaneous fat could ensure that it would not be fatally injured. The pain would only continue to arouse the polar bear's anger. Ow dash! The roar of pain made the giant bear pounce on Lin Gu again, but it did not use brute force. The ice did not break into a hole except for the cracks. Under its intentional control, Lin Guo could not dig a hole for it. Damn bastard. Lin Guo also realized the wisdom of this giant bear, but he really couldn't think of a better way to deal with it. The bullets in Lin Ji's pistol quickly ran out. In the end, he could only angrily smash the pistol on the giant bear. In the face of Lin Guo, who was bare-handed, the giant bear was even more unscrupulous in its attacks. Lin Guo had no other way but to avoid it. This kind of impact made him afraid to meet it. God knows what would happen if he was slapped by such a huge bear paw. Would he turn into a meat paste? Or would he be directly smashed to the point that not even the bones were left? In this case, what else could Lin Guo do but dodge? The giant bear became braver as it fought. It seemed to know that as long as the human's physical strength was exhausted, there was only waiting for death, so it waved its giant paw even more angrily. Among the three people, except for Lin Guo who could attract the polar bear's attack and attention, the other two could do nothing at all. Zhou Qianxiu tried to break the leash, but he did not have a better tool. He tried to order his Alaskan dog to help him bite off the leash, but the two dogs did not respond at all under such a huge and dangerous pressure. Their heads were all stuffed under their bodies, waiting for death. No matter what Zhou Qianxiu did, the two dogs could not understand the orders given to them by their master. One of them just pulled on the leash and lay down again. Zhou Qianxiu kicked the two dogs angrily, but the two dogs were still indifferent to him. "It's really useless for me to raise you," Zhou Qianxiu said bitterly. It seemed that God wanted him dead. God wants me dead. Gu Qia could hear the despair in Zhou Qianxiu's voice. At this moment, Zhou Qianxiu finally gave up his desire to survive. Chapter 38:54. Gu Qia knew that all this was brought about by them. She apologized to Zhou Qianxiu. "Uncle Zhou, I'm sorry. We have implicated you. It doesn't make sense for you to say anything now. Today, none of us can escape." Zhou Qianxiu shook his head helplessly. "I really didn't expect that my life would be extended in the hands of your father, Mr. Gu, but it would end in the hands of Mr. Gu's daughter." Speaking of this, Zhou Qianxiu suddenly laughed very loudly and exaggeratedly. "Ha ha ha ha. This is all God's arrangement. Yes, it must be God's arrangement. It is God who wants to forget me. What can I do?" Zhou Qianxiu suddenly saw through everything. "I should have died long ago. I have lived too long these years. Ha ha ha. I am so afraid of death. In order to survive, I even did not hesitate to hide in this place. I'm sorry." Gu Qia did not know how to comfort Zhou Qianxiu. She did not know how to help Lin Guo. Lin Guo was still dealing with the giant bear, but that was all he could do. Fate, all of this is fate. Zhou Qianxiu looked up to the sky and said, "Back then, I was hunted down by the underworld because I betrayed Su Chen. Today, I was found by his son. Ha ha ha, it is God's will. It is God's will. This is retribution. This is the retribution that I can't escape in this life." Zhou Qianxiu completely saw through it. At this moment, life was nothing to him. He was such a person who cherished his life and was afraid of death, but he actually saw through it in this situation. "Su Chen." Gu Qia was stunned. "You? What do you mean? Do you know Su Yun's father?" In this situation where he was about to die, was there anything that Zhou Qianxiu did not dare to say? Of course not. Yes, from the moment he appeared, I was shocked. He really looks like him. But I kept telling myself that there are many people in this world who look alike. Zhou Qianxiu shook his head and said, "Wang Zulan looks like Jinxing, Wu Chenlian looks like Tang Wei, Zhang Yishan looks like Xia Yu, Wang Feng looks like Bai Yensong, Huang Zhang looks like Su Jinjiang, and even foreigners look like Hua Xia, just like Jason Statham looks like Gui De, men look like women, and Livingston looks like Mo Wenwei. These are all possible. Why is it impossible for a young man who looks like Su Chen to appear in front of me?" Gu Qia didn't expect Zhou Qianxiu to say so much. It seemed that he really had a mental breakdown. "But his name is Su Yun. His name is Su Yun. Hey. How can there be a young man who looks like Su Chen and has the same name as Su Chen's son? Zhou Qianxiu still said to himself, of course, it's his son. His son's name is Su Yun. This is the name given by Yun Luyen. Su from Su Chen, Yun from Yun Luyen, Su Yun. His name is Su Yun, and he looks like Su Chen. If he is not the son of Su Chen and Yun Luyen, who else can he be? Gu Qia didn't know Su Yun's family background, but after listening to Zhou Qianxiu, she realized that Zhou Qianxiu and Su Yun's parents knew each other. You know Su Yun's parents? Then why didn't you say it just now? Gu Qia said, you know his parents, so he came to you. You should be willing to help him. How would I know if he came to kill me or not? Zhou Qianxiu shook his head. If it weren't for you following him, and he didn't seem to know anything about the past, otherwise, I would really think that he came to kill me. If that were the case, I would have killed myself with a gun. I deserved it. It was my retribution. Uncle Zhou, I don't understand what you are talking about at all. Gu Qia was really curious. Zhou Qianxiu continued to shake his head. It doesn't matter. Everything doesn't matter. Gu Qia was silent. It seems that the origin of this is really deep. It's useless to say anything now. We will all die today. No one can live. Zhou Qianxiu smiled bitterly and collapsed directly on the snow nest. Gu Qia glanced at Lin Gu again. Lin Gu was still dealing with the giant bear. Although he had no ability to resist at all, he did not show any fatigue. Perhaps Lin Gu could hold on for a while with his physical strength. Or maybe in the end, Lin Gu could exhaust the giant bear's physical strength. If that was the case, maybe they still had a chance. No, we still have a chance. Even if there is only a glimmer of chance, we have to fight for it. Gu Qia looked at Lin Gu and said, he is still working hard. He hasn't given up yet. We can't give up. We must never give up. We still have a chance. There is still a chance. Gu Qia desperately told herself not to give up. She desperately tried to find ways to help Lin Gu. But even if she racked her brains, Gu Qia really couldn't think of any way to hurt this giant bear. If she knew that she would encounter such a big guy, she should have gotten a Gatling gun and brought it over in the car. She was afraid that this giant bear could only be dealt with by a powerful heavy machine gun that could turn people into blood mist. It was a pity that she could only think about it now. She had no better way. She could only imagine. Yes, she could only think about it. There was no other way. Gu Qia's spirit also began to collapse. The only thing that supported her was probably her remaining belief. She had agreed to meet up with Su Yun next to the car. This was the only belief that kept Gu Qia from collapsing. Lin Gu had already begun to pant. He didn't know how long he could hold on. At this moment, the temperature was already -50 degrees, and Lin Ji's body heat was greatly depleted. In order to avoid the giant bear's attack, he had to use up the most explosive power every time he dodged. Lin Gu also didn't know how long he could hold on. In such an extreme environment, it was impossible for him to have the same good physical strength as usual. The huge consumption of physical strength made Lin Gu start to worry. Perhaps at this moment, Lin Gu had already exhausted all of his physical strength. He had already reached his limit. The reason why he could still hold on at this moment was probably because of the support of his strong spirit. Although the giant bear had also used up a lot of its physical strength seemed to be better because it was more adapted to this extreme environment. Everyone knew that polar bears had good physical strength. Ordinary polar bears could swim for 100 kilometers at a speed of 10 kilometers per hour, swimming continuously for an hour and a half, and it was still in the cold sea water of the Arctic. This physical strength was really not comparable to that of ordinary animals. So even if it had already consumed a lot of energy, the remaining physical strength in its body was still much more than Lin Ji's. It was not easy for Lin Gu to persist until now under the consumption of his powerful explosive power in this harsh environment. After walking for so long, encountering the Arctic wolf earlier, and dragging Gu Qia for such a long distance, Lin Gu had expended a lot of energy. It could be said that their current situation was already precarious. Once Lin Ge's physical limit collapsed, it would be completely over. At that time, no one could resist this giant bear. Zhou Xiao, who had given up resistance and the desire to survive, could not be counted on. Even if the injured Gu Qia wanted to, she was powerless. The two Alaskan dogs gave up resistance like their owners, just lying in the snow and waiting to die. Everything seemed to be over. Lin Gu, who was struggling to support himself, turned over and jumped behind the giant bear again. When he landed this time, Lin Gu clearly felt the trembling of his legs. He clearly realized that he had reached his limit. He was not sure how many more times he could dodge. Lin Gu, who was annoyed, hit the lake with his fist. He blamed himself for not being able to protect Gu Qia and failing to live up to Su Yun's trust in him. The giant bear turned around but did not immediately launch an attack. It seemed to have seen Lin Ge's situation. The giant bear, who believed that it had won, howled again, as if announcing its victory. "Miss Gu, I'm sorry. I couldn't protect you. I'm really sorry." Lin Gu gritted his teeth and stood up. Although the current situation showed that the outcome had been decided, Lin Gu still decided to persist until the last second. Even if he could destroy the giant bear's eyes and nose before he died, making it lose its vision and sense of smell, he would fight. Perhaps this was the last thing he could do to protect Gu Qia. "No, you have nothing to be sorry for. I should thank you. You have protected me for so long." Gu Qia was also anxious. "If you can still run, I hope you can use the last of your physical strength to escape. Don't continue to waste it on me. Please, I beg you, run away. Quick. It doesn't make any sense to persist." Chapter 38:55. Of course, Lin Gu wouldn't listen to Gu Qia. He already had a plan. As long as the giant bear attacked him again, he wouldn't dodge. He would face it head-on and attack its eyes first. No matter how resistant this polar bear's skin was, its eyes were still fragile. As long as its eyes were injured, Lin Gu would have the opportunity to destroy its sense of smell while it was in pain. If possible, he would also find an opportunity to destroy its eardrums. Lin Ji's gaze had already begun to search for weapons. The crossbar on the sled that was used to stabilize the sled would definitely be a very useful weapon. That's right, he would first injure the bear's eyes and then go get a weapon. Lin Gu already had a plan. Now, all he had to do was wait for the giant bear to attack. "What are you doing? Don't do anything stupid, don't." Gu Qia could feel Lin Ji's current state. This kind of state where he was ready to die together with the giant bear was vividly reflected on Lin Ji's body. Finally, the complacent giant bear attacked again. Lin Gu didn't hesitate to face it head-on and directly attacked the giant bear's eyes. The giant bear was tall and looked down on Lin Gu completely. When Lin Gu showed signs of attacking its eyes, the giant bear's broad and powerful paws blocked the front of its eyes and fiercely slapped down. The strength of this paw was no small matter. Lin Ji's body had already broken through the limit. Although his explosive strength was still strong, it was difficult to stop. There was no way for him to dodge the giant bear's paw. Even though Lin Gu had already stretched his body to the maximum limit to dodge, his right shoulder was still scraped by the bear's paw. It was easy to imagine just how powerful this giant bear's paw was. It was comparable to a speeding car crashing into Lin Ji's shoulder. Lin Ji's entire body fell directly onto the ice. With a loud crash, his body smashed into the ice, creating a huge 2-meter-long crack in the ice. This was enough for Lin Gu to bear. Even though Lin Ji's physical fitness was far superior to that of an ordinary person, if he was hit by a speeding car, he would definitely be injured. An ordinary person would definitely die. Gu Qia cried out. Her mind was blank. She wanted to save Lin Gu so badly, but she struggled to get off the sled. Even standing up was difficult. The wooden planks that secured her ankles made it difficult for Gu Qia to move. She started to remove them in frustration. At this moment, she couldn't even think rationally. To put it bluntly, she had no chance of saving Lin Gu, but she still insisted on going forward to attract the attention of the giant bear. After Lin Gu fell heavily to the ground, the breath he had been holding in his heart finally relaxed. The aftereffects of overloading his body were obvious. Lin Ji's muscles started to stiffen under the cold, the kind of stiffness that blocked his blood flow. He struggled to stand up, but could only rely on his strong spiritual power and one arm to support half of his body. "I know I can't beat you. You're really a pervert." Lin Ji's lips curled into a disdainful smile. "But don't expect me to kneel and die. Give me some face and give me a few seconds to recover. After I stand up, you can attack." He started to talk to himself while facing the giant bear. "I, Lin Gu, always thought that I was very lucky. Nothing would happen to me in this life. Even if I died halfway, I would definitely die on the battlefield. I really didn't expect that I would die in the hands of an animal like you. Hee hee. What am I?" Lin Gu helplessly ridiculed himself. "I'm really unlucky." Gu Chia picked up a piece of ice beside her and suddenly threw it at the giant bear. She actually thought of using this method to attract the giant bear's attention at this critical moment and give Lin Gu some time to breathe. The giant bear was hit by the ice and slowly turned its head. It glanced at Gu Chia but didn't have any reaction. It seemed to have no intention of paying attention to her at all. Perhaps it didn't hurt or itch when she hit it. "Miss Gu, I'm sorry." Lin Gu couldn't protect Gu Chia until the end. He was very ashamed, very ashamed. "What are you saying? What's there to be sorry about?" Gu Chia said. "I should be the one apologizing. This happened because of me. I brought you here. It's all my fault. This is our business. We implicated you. Miss Gu, I know I can't represent my brother, but I still want to apologize on his behalf. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I couldn't protect you well," Lin Gu said shamefully. Then, he used the last of his strength to stand up. At this moment, his legs were already trembling. A mutated Arctic bear was comparable to an expert with terrifying strength. When Lin Gu looked at the giant bear, his mind was in a mess. He began to wonder how long this world could last. How long could this Earth last? Were there any other mutated species in the world? Perhaps there were many places where there were no traces of humans. Perhaps these mutated creatures were not a small number. However, they all lived in places where there were few people. Even if someone encountered them, it would be difficult to escape from them. A Big Bear Lake, a pine forest by the Big Bear Lake, and there was already a mutated polar bear and a mutated polar wolf. What was wrong with this world? Lin Gu smiled bitterly. Perhaps humans couldn't wait until the day when the Earth's resources were completely exhausted and the Earth's ecology was completely destroyed. Perhaps before that day, there would be many mutated species, and these mutated species would be enough to cause humans to fall into an era of doomsday. Perhaps the doomsday wasn't caused by the mutated humans that appeared in novels and movies that attacked humans. Perhaps the doomsday was caused by these mutated ferocious beasts. Perhaps if Lin Gu told these to humans now, they wouldn't believe that there would be such a day. This was because humans simply didn't put animals in their eyes. They wouldn't believe that animals could mutate, and they wouldn't even believe that animals could mutate. However, if animals could go extinct, they would definitely mutate. There were already many mutated animals. There were already many strange reports in the world. Horned caterpillars mutated from horned moth larvae in the United States, 8-legged two-tailed crocodiles in Thailand, 6-legged octopuses in the Black Pond. There were all kinds of 4-legged ducks, 6-legged cows, 2-headed turtles, 2-headed snakes, and all kinds of other things. Not to mention how many animals went extinct 100 years ago, how many animals went extinct in the past 50 years because of human greed. Golden toads, Zanzibar leopards, Hawaiian honey wood spinner, Madeira butterflies, Tacoba killifish, Pyrenees mountain goats, West African black rhinoceros, Java tigers, Spike's king-ong parrots, Mauritius flying snakes, Dutch Alcon blue butterflies. There were countless of them. What was the main reason for the accelerated extinction of today's species? I believe everyone knew that it was because of human behavior that led to the disappearance of a large number of habitats. Because of human greed for resources, the environment was destroyed. Also, the global temperature was warming. The population was increasing rapidly. The natural environment was deteriorating. One must know that now, the creatures on Earth were experiencing the sixth mass extinction in history. In the era we were living in, the creatures on Earth would encounter the sixth mass extinction. Perhaps many animals will disappear in our lifetime. This is by no means a strange thing. This kind of situation is already a very common thing in today's world. Even in such an extremely cold place, whether it was polar bears or Arctic wolves, they would all go extinct one day in the future. Perhaps if they wanted to survive, mutating into such a mutant was a last resort. Otherwise, it would be difficult for them to even find a chance to survive. The giant bear finally raised its paw again. It was ready to give Lin Guo the final blow. Lin Ji's mouth revealed a smile. He raised his head and closed his eyes, ready to accept the arrangement of fate. However, at this moment, a voice came from not far away. "Your opponent seems to be me, right? Big dumb bear, you're good. You can even climb out after falling in. I thought I could freeze you in the lake and turn you into a specimen. Forget it, don't do that. If there's really a polar bear as big as you here and it becomes a specimen, tourists will fight for it. Another habitat of the polar bears will be destroyed," Su Yun said as he walked forward. At this moment, he was about 30 meters away from them. Chapter 38:56. The smile at the corner of Lin Ji's mouth became more obvious. He was relieved when he heard this voice. His legs went soft and he fell to the ground, completely losing consciousness. When Lin Guo was hit by the giant bear just now, not only did he hurt his shoulder, but his head was also hit when he landed. It was a miracle that he could still maintain his sanity and persist until now. At the moment when Su Yun's voice sounded, he no longer needed to persist. Lin Guo knew that he could lie down and sleep for a while with peace of mind. After waking up, Su Yun would definitely solve all the troubles and problems. Gu Qia was also so surprised that she couldn't close her mouth. Su Yun actually caught up with them so quickly. Just now, Zhou Qianxiu said that Su Yun could not escape from the wolf pack, but now Su Yun stood in front of them at their most critical moment. Zhou Qianxiu opened his eyes in Gu Qia's exclamation. Su Yun's figure was getting closer and closer. For him, it was like God had come in person. Incredible, it was really incredible. It was a miracle that a person could kill his way out of the encirclement of wolves led by a mutant Arctic wolf. The sleeve of Su Yun's left arm was torn, and the down feather inside was still coming out intermittently. The blood stains on his face were frozen, which looked particularly shocking. "I have to deal with you as soon as possible now. This bro is too cold." Su Yun had come to 10 meters in front of the giant bear. At this distance, Su Yun no longer walked. He knew that the behemoth in front of him only needed one leap to reach him. Gu Qia suddenly saw down feathers flying out of Su Yun's back. It seemed that the cold-resistant down jacket used by the Arctic expedition team had been torn by the wolves. The feathers kept coming out of the down feathers and were blown away by the wind. Humans could live in this extremely cold zone completely by relying on these warm equipment, such as down jackets used by the Arctic expedition team. The three of them had specially bought down jackets worn by the North and South Pole expedition teams or Mount Everest to keep themselves warm. Zhou Qianxiu naturally had to wear warm enough to live here. He did not have a down jacket, but he wore a fur coat that the indigenous people like to wear, and he wore more than one layer. Inside the outer fur coat, there was a down jacket that the extremely cold country army liked. Since they had to crawl and roll in the snow every day, these two types of clothes were very good choices. Down jackets were lighter and more comfortable, but people in the extreme cold preferred to wear fur clothes. The reason was simple. Down jackets were not as resistant as fur jackets. Once a down jacket was torn, the down feathers would fly out, and warm clothes would become rags. However, fur clothes were different. It didn't matter if they were torn. They could be sewn and mended. Even if they were wrapped up casually, they would still be warm. Down jackets were obviously more comfortable and warm. If the polar expedition team chose down jackets, they were not as resistant to the cold as the local Aborigines. They chose this because they did not have to worry about their clothes being damaged. Even if they were damaged, there would be a lot of supplies. The reason why the Aborigines chose to wear furs was very simple. They definitely liked to wear down jackets that were more relaxed and comfortable, but furs were less likely to be damaged. After all, they relied on hunting for a living. It was normal for their clothes to be torn or torn by animals. Su Yun's down jacket with holes everywhere was the best proof. If you wanted to experience the life of the Aborigines, you must choose fur clothes. The down jacket could not withstand this kind of damage. Su Yun was already quite cold now. After all, there was no down in many places on his arms and back. Fortunately, this was a professional down jacket for the polar expedition team. The amount of down was much higher than the ordinary down jacket on the market by several times. Only then could it withstand the constant drilling of the fur. It could still maintain a certain temperature in Su Yun's chest and abdomen. The giant bear looked at Su Yun. Although it did not say a word, its eyes were slowly filled with blood vessels. Its hatred for Su Yun was much higher than other people's. It knew that it was this guy in front of it who caused it to fall into the ice lake. It took so much effort to climb out. The first thing the giant bear did when it climbed out was to find them by following their scent. The giant bear finally found them, but it did not see Su Yun at first. It originally thought that this would be the most regrettable thing in its bear life, but it did not expect Su Yun to appear again. It appeared again when it had already won a great victory. This was a gift from God to it. It was more exciting than catching a big seal. The giant bear finally roared excitedly. This roar also scared Gu Chia. This giant bear's momentum was completely different from when it was dealing with Lin Gu just now. In other words, it was like a character in a game who was full of anger and then used a big move. As soon as she saw that Su Yun was about to use a big move, Gu Chia was stunned. Jochen Xiu, who had just ignited his desire to survive, closed his eyes again and chanted. He knew that he should not have any extravagant hopes. Even if Su Yun had destroyed the huge Arctic wolf, it was impossible for him to deal with this giant Arctic bear. This giant bear was much bigger than the Arctic wolf. And he had just seen it with his own eyes. The place where the bullet hit did not bleed. How could this monster be dealt with? Jochen Xiu's heart was full of helplessness. Never mind Su Yun. Even if his father, Su Chen, came here, he was afraid that there was no way to deal with this giant Arctic bear. One had to know that he was a man who had almost conquered the entire underground world. Su Yun was still far from being his father's match. Su Yun hooked his finger at the giant bear. Don't bark. Do you know that there is a saying in Hua Xia that a barking dog doesn't bite? It refers to the kind of dog that only moves its mouth and roars. Are you that kind of dog? Although the giant bear did not understand Su Yun's words, Su Yun's actions and eyes were full of contempt, and his voice was full of disdain. These things could be felt by the polar bear. On the earth, humans were the only animals with the ability to walk upright. This was something that other primates couldn't compare to. But trained bears could perform circuses, ride bicycles, and walk upright. This showed that the bear was a smart animal, and the polar bear was also a bear, so they were smart guys. The giant bear leaped up, and its explosive power was more violent than when it dealt with Lin Gu before. But when Su Yun dodged, he could still feel that the giant bear's speed had decreased compared to when it first attacked him. Su Yun dodged the giant bear's attack and glanced at Lin Gu, who fainted on the ground. He silently said thank you in his heart. The giant bear's speed had slowed down entirely because of Lin Gu. Just now, Lin Gu had done his best to consume the giant bear's physical strength. This giant bear had been consuming a lot of physical strength since it fell into the ice lake. Therefore, the consumption of this giant bear's physical strength was extremely huge. Although Su Yun's physical strength consumption was also quite large, Su Yun knew how to save physical strength and how to use softness to conquer strength. Therefore, everything that Lin Gu had done before was very important to Su Yun. If it wasn't for Lin Ji's consumption of the giant bear's physical strength, Su Yun probably wouldn't have enough physical strength to exhaust it. The giant bear that missed turned around to look for Su Yun's figure. At this time, Su Yun jumped up high and used his faster reaction speed to punch the giant bear's nose. The nose of a polar bear was sensitive. The more sensitive the nose, the easier it was to be injured. The logic was very simple. The giant bear that was hit in the nose roared and stood up. It shook its head wildly and then pounced on the target again. Su Yun was trying to anger it. When it lost its mind, it would be time for Su Yun to finish the battle. Su Yun lured the giant bear more than 10 meters away. Gu Chia quickly crawled to Lin Gu on the ground and patted Lin Ji's face. "Wake up. You can't sleep here. You'll freeze to death if you fall asleep." It was dozens of degrees below zero outside. If he fell asleep, he would really freeze to death. When a person slept, their blood circulation would slow down a lot. The slower the blood circulation, the easier it was to coagulate. Once coagulated, he would freeze to death. "Wake up. Hurry." Gu Chia grabbed a handful of snow and slapped it on Lin Ji's face. The only thing she could do now was to help Lin Gu regain his senses and use all means to solve this problem. You're tuning in to the Narrate and Escape YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.